There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
How the heck are you?
Yep, that's it. Miller
I drove, which made me happier. I didn't let anybody else behind the wheel of the car.
and Moulton.
Look at you. I'm the man of the house.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Broadcasting live from the Kobe Cooling Remote Studios, where it's always cool and comfortable.
Oh, I like
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton on this hump day. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming once again, millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live once again, the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels, and simulcasting live on the Landry Football Network, also on Twitch.tv, a 24/7 football channel exclusively to Twitch. Mark,
David?
at least for a little while, all those political ads outside of Trump and Biden are going to go away for a little while. Woohoo!
You know, I hope you're right. But, David, I'm worried because let me just put it this way. There were 9 people running for the congressional seat in this district. I don't think anybody could even name all 9.
Right. Are you talking about just on the Republican side, or was it?
Yeah, there's no other side. It's the Southwest Florida. What are you trying to act like there's 2 sides down here? Where the hell have you been for 20 years?
Hey, somebody has to fake it.
Okay. I mean, I've told everybody that I know, when you move to Southwest Florida, you register as Republican because the only vote that matters is the primary.
Right. I
You
understand.
show me a
that.
Republican that wins a primary that loses the general election down here.
Well, come to think of it, it'll be 21 years in November that I've been in the 239, and I'm trying to think of one.
Find a D.
Yeah, well,
Better chance finding one on my kid's report card. That's all I'm telling you.
hello.
So this is the problem I had with yesterday. I think I've mentioned this on the show. The wife and I do a pretty good job of kind of sitting down, doing our research, trying to make sure that we're in tune with one another for the vote. And we spend a night or two doing that. So I went and voted yesterday at around 10:30. Had the gymnastics in the morning, came back. Daughter and I went and voted. Wanted to see how Chicago we were, tried to get her a ballot too. They didn't give her one.
Well, that's good, though. They say voter fraud's going to be an issue, so you wanted to test it early on. Good for you.
So we walk in, and there's no one ever there. I mean, it took longer for them to scan my license than it did anything else. And I did laugh because they're all volunteers, and they scanned my license, and they couldn't think, those new ones don't work. And I just looked at the guy and go, this isn't that new.
Right.
He goes, yeah, I know, but the ones with the holograms. And look, I go, I know you guys are all volunteers. But I mean, if we're going to screw something up, Florida's pretty much got this down on an election.
Right.
And they all giggled, and I laughed. I said, look, and I'm not saying anything to you guys. You guys all volunteer. And I thanked them all. I said, thank you for volunteering. Without people like you, we couldn't. This is great. So I don't want you to think that I'm giving you a hard time. We'll move on. 2 people later, a lady comes in and opens with, why do I have to come here when there is a voting precinct right by my house? And I mean, comes in hot.
Oh, come on.
David, I'm voting.
Why is she coming into pit road doing 75 miles an hour? We know you're supposed to only go 35. Come on.
And now I have my daughter with me. I am now in the booth voting. I've got my sample ballot, so I'm just making sure we're, voting the same way. And I pretty much didn't need it. I am now going, and I'm not joking because my daughter's, what are you voting on? I said, well, we're voting on congressional seats. And, I'm kind of trying to half explain it to her. And this lady starts really giving them, and I pull a Moulton.
Yes.
I don't do this often.
Yes.
I just stood there and went, they're volunteers.
Yes.
They're not getting paid. They are not getting paid. 3 times I said it. She kept going. Then when we walked out, I said, ma'am, They're all volunteers, because I saw her coming to her car. I said, you know, they were all volunteers. They really don't need to come in yelling at them. They didn't get paid for you to yell at them.
Right.
I didn't yell at them. No
Okay.
problem, ma'am. Have a good day.
Right. And by the way, I can just let you know right now, you've got 16 items in the 10 item or less.
There's no
I'll
doubt.
tell you that right now.
There's
right
no
now.
doubt. And then I left, and she was driving fast. I thought she wanted to yell at me some more. And we got to the light, and I'm like, oh, no, she's going to live in my neighborhood. She's going to live in my neighborhood. Fortunately, she did not.
Oh, that would have been fantastic. Nothing like giving your daughter material so she could tell mom when she gets home from work.
Why did you yell at that lady? I just pointed something out to her, honey.
Now back to the civics lesson. Okay, school board. This is how it works.
This is how it works. But I get done voting. And David, throughout the day, my texts did not stop with people telling me who to vote for. I'm like, I've already voted.
Wait a minute. Wait. Are you just talking about the candidate somehow got a hold of your number?
Yes, somebody got a hold of my number.
Or were this friends of yours telling you who to
vote? No.
Okay.
I mean, here's one I didn't delete. Alert from trusted conservatives. You know, then it goes through all the don't let cheaters steal the election, vote for this guy.
Well, Mark, I got to admit, it's always good to hear from trusted conservatives, because when I get the text from the, don't trust them conservatives, they scare me.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, I've never heard of this dirty trick. I mean, let's face it, most of us are from somewhere else. All right. We've got our own election stories, whether it be local, regional, national, whatever the case may be, in which, it's nasty and you hear about some dirty tricks and this, that, and the other thing. Apparently, yesterday, a text went out to a bunch of people in which it was supposedly, the text was from Byron Donalds saying, hey, I've dropped out for personal reasons. Don't worry. Everything's going to be okay. Blah, blah, blah. So he had to call.
What this one is. Did not drop out. It's a lie from opponents. That's what this one is.
Right.
So I didn't want to give names because I just didn't think that was.
And apparently, listen, I just saw the early local news. Polls were still open, in which, Donald's obviously called up all the local media to get the word out going, this is a hoax. And he said, this is dirty politics, and I'm going to look into it. Now, it'll be interesting to see if he still looks into it, considering that he won the primary.
So he's a congressman.
Well,
how it works, David?
It basically, right. He's, it's kind of like president-elect.
Unless he picks up an 8-ball between now and the election, I think he's good.
Well, and let me tell you, even then, he's still, minus 130. I mean, even then, he may not be a number 1 or number 2 starter on the Hill, but he'd still be a number 3 starter on a good home team. Don't kid yourself.
Worst case scenario, the worst he could ever get is minus 125. I hear what you're saying. No doubt about it there. But yes, I couldn't believe the number of texts that I was still getting, and yesterday's mail still full of people.
Oh, that's my favorite. My favorite. David Dorsey in the news press saved for a month. He saved all the direct mail that he got, political direct mail, and he ended up writing a story in the last 5 days on like 60-something pieces of mail
that he received the week we were gone. We shut the mail down for a week. 28 in that week.
In a week? Wow, that's 4 a day. That's outstanding.
Right.
With no mail on Sundays too. So really, it's more like 4.5 a day, 5 a day. That's great.
I was happy for Adam Botana for the state rep, because Baywater Boat Rentals have sponsored our show and sports radio for years. I've known Adam for a long time. He actually came and knocked on my door campaigning, and I opened the door and he goes, I thought when I saw the name it was you. And I'm like, hey, and I thought he was running for a county commissioner. So he's no. I'm going one above that. I'm like, look at you, big fella. And he won. So I thought I like the fact that I actually know somebody that I think would now take my call that's an elected official.
So in other words, now you know somebody that in theory you could call them up and act like that lady walking into the polling place? No?
I would never do that.
I know that. I'm just joking.
And it was funny because my daughter kept going, why are you voting? I said, because it's what we're supposed to do.
Oh, honey, sit down. We need to talk. Why are we
not
voting?
Really going to change anything, and everything's going to stay the same, but it makes us feel good a couple times every 3 or 4 years.
Right. Why are we voting? Sit down. It all goes back to 1775. All right. And they were angry up in New England. All right. And they threw a tea party.
And let's be honest, they've been angry in New England ever since.
Well, they really have. Because you know what? They're not a whole lot taller now than they were then. But hello, everybody. And the reason they were angry is for the longest time, the Red Sox hadn't won a World Series since we broke away from England. And so that's why there was just, lingering anger for the generations.
Interesting. They didn't like the red coats, but yet they like the Red Sox.
Red Sox. There you go. Well played, Mark.
And right now, they don't like the Red Sox all that much.
Well,
they lost again last night.
Well, Mark, here, I got to admit, if you're a Red Sox fan, in a way, you need to thank them. See, now you've already written this season off. It's done. It's over with. There is no more angst to the baseball season. It ended Monday night in the Bronx when the Yankees swept you a 4-game series. You're in last place. You realize, wow, we're terrible. It doesn't matter if they have team meetings and this, that, and the other thing. You know a good team when you see it, and you know a bad team when you see it. Remember, the year before they won their last World Series, their second World Series in 2013, they finished dead last in 2012. I mean, Red Sox fans know a bad team when they see it. They do. They got 4 World Series here in the last 15 plus years. They know what good teams and bad teams look like. So now they're done. Baseball season's already over, Mark. You know what time it is? It's the Bruins and the Celtics are in the playoffs, and they're thankful for that. They're like, man, if ever we needed August and September hockey and basketball playoffs, this is it. And they're kind of curious about life after TB12. So baseball season's already over for them.
And I think the fact that with no TB12, they're curious, but they can just keep one eye on that during training camp, if you know what I mean. It's not all of the focus, because if the Red Sox were in the toilet and training camp were opening, it would be all eyes on the Patriots, normally.
Right.
But now, the Bruins have controversy, and they're playing through it admirably. I mean, their goaltender left the bubble. Tuukka Rask is a world-class, I don't know if he's a top 5, but he's a top 10 goalie.
He might actually win the Vezina this year. He's definitely a top 5 goalie in the league right now. Absolutely.
And he walked.
He did. And it's up for debate as to whether, the general manager made it seem as if Tuukka had been talking to them, and the GM gave the impression that something is going on in the family dynamic, whether it's a health problem with one of the kids or the wife, and the GM gave Tuukka the organization's blessing, said this did not come completely out of the blue. He had been talking to us and basically alluded to, hey, there's something going on. We were aware of it. We knew it was a possibility. We support Tuukka. We wish him and his family the best.
And yet he didn't tell his coach.
Right.
He called the general manager and said, I'm leaving. The general manager had to tell the coach. So that's why I still think that there's some there. Sorry.
And maybe there is. And maybe there is.
But the team comes out in the first game without Rask and plays really well. And through 4 games, Boston has played better every game.
Yeah, they're starting to look like the Bruins
in the league before we went into the hiatus. And now they're looking like they are again.
Right.
But the Celtics are playing a Sixers team, and it's the Sixers, it's the playoffs. They'll figure out a way to blow it.
Well, it's the Celtics and the Sixers, so we know who's going to win. There's like 2 instances in their history in which the Celtics haven't won. That's really it.
So I don't know how much you enjoyed the ping pong day of sports yesterday. We kind of went basketball, hockey.
Second one in a row, though.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how much you were into it. And I don't know what you were watching, but I found myself with, even though the Islanders would go on to lose, the Islanders are up 2-0. And I had the sound on, and then I look over in the pregame starting for the Lakers. Well, the best thing on television is still inside the NBA. And I flip over to TNT. And Charles Barkley is all in on the Portland Trailblazers.
Oh, look at the Chuckster.
All in. The last thing he said before they went to the game, not only did he pick the Blazers in the series,
he
said if the Blazers win game 1, they will sweep the series.
Whoa! The Chuckster.
So-
Well, the Chuckster was feeling it yesterday because he found out he's going to go into the Broadcasters Hall of Fame. They put about 6 in every year, and Charles Barkley is one of the 6 that's going into the Sports Broadcasting Hall of Fame this year.
So, for whatever reason, I think we all like Chuck. We all have a soft spot for Charles Barkley. He's a terrific guy on television. I don't know how terrific of a guy he is, but he's great on TV. And
I bought him a drink once before the Kick 6 game at Auburn. He was terrific.
he tried to bet Shaq 500 on the series.
Which to the two of them
It's $20.
is getting
$2.
your spare change
Right.
and putting it in the little plastic charity thing there at the front of the register.
Certainly for Shaq. I don't know about Chuck. Chuck's gone through a lot of money.
Well, that's true.
Chuck's rich, but he ain't Shaq rich.
Well, no, Chuck and Mickelson call one another and talk about how much money they've lost. When they play golf together, okay, they both talk nonstop and they talk about how much money they've lost gambling.
Right. How much they should have. Do you know
Right.
that I'd be worth $60 million if I wasn't such an idiot?
Right,
I don't know how much. I mean, I think Chuck has money, but I think Chuck needs to work because he blows so much money.
right.
Whereas Shaq, the only reason he needs to work is that his kids have some expensive habits. And I just mean clothes and things. I've heard what our friend Gentry said Shaq has to pay for the kids' things for. But Shaq's worth 9 digits. I mean, Shaq's
yeah.
closing in on a billionaire. He is as astute of a businessman as there is out there. The deals he's done have deals behind them. But all of a sudden, Chuck is calling for not just a win, but a sweep if they win game 1. I'm like, well, I'm now into game 1.
Well,
And
there you go. There you go. Did you stay up for it?
no.
Oh, okay.
Halftime, I went down for the count.
All right. That's
Woke
pretty
up
good, though.
Woke up on the couch at 1:30 in the morning.
And I will say, for those that don't know, the game tipped at around 9. So it wasn't a normal 10:30 West Coast tip. I mean, they're playing in Orlando, and they started the first game at 1:30. So, it was like 1:34, 6:39 yesterday. Let's play these games. And so there you have it. So the game was over by midnight. You could have, in theory, stayed up and watched. But all right, good deal. When you fell asleep, it was a 1-point game. So you woke up this morning wanting to see who won between the Lakers and Portland and who won between the Blackhawks and the Golden Knights.
Yes.
Which was a terrific hockey game, by the way.
Look at in the basketball yesterday. I mean, the Lakers game probably might end up being one of the better games. The Miami game was really good. Butler helped them pull away late. The other 2 basketball games, Orlando just flat out took it to Milwaukee from the get-go. I watched the whole game, David.
This is the 3rd biggest upset in NBA playoff history in terms of point spread for a game, or at least in the last 20 years. I mean, the Orlando Magic were a 13.5-point underdog to the Milwaukee Bucks. And they darn near covered that number if they had flipped it. And you're right. I mean, they led throughout. I mean, they had a 10-point lead after the first quarter. They had a 10-point lead at the half. They won by 12. And Milwaukee looks like the 2 hockey teams that we've referenced who just quite haven't found their stride coming back from the 4+ month hiatus. Milwaukee, with the best overall record in the NBA and the 1 seed in the East, they have not looked that good. And Orlando did not make them look good yesterday either. Mark, more and more people are jumping on our Toronto Raptors bandwagon.
I mean, they can jump on them here. Well, it's too late to get futures for all of you. But trust me, there was someone who laid some money on Toronto to win the East that watched Milwaukee lose game 1 and went, even if they win the series, the more games they play, that's probably good for my Southwest Florida Raptors.
It's our Southwest Florida Raptors. You just can't claim them for yourself.
Our. I apologize. Southwest Florida Raptors.
Miller and Moulton on this hump day. So there are just a few things out there that I think we can all, and listen, it doesn't matter if your candidates won yesterday or didn't win. I think we could all use a reprieve, right? I mean, the only people that are really sad for the next 4 to 6 weeks are the local TV and radio stations who have lost. They're going to lose out on the nice advertising revenue that they've needed, quite frankly, coming out of this pandemic.
Don't worry. They'll get more.
Oh, no. Oh, no. It'll ramp up nationally. But I'm just saying it'll be nice in which, outside of Trump and Biden ads, we're probably not going to see a political ad until October now, which will be good. We could take a breath. That'll be good for us, I think, for our mental health. Because the one thing I will say is, man, I was just tired of everybody just saying that everybody else sucked. I got to be honest with you. What happened to giving people a reason to vote for you? I mean, instead of vote for me because the other three guys suck. Now you may have seen an ad that says I suck, but let me tell you, watch my ad right now and you'll realize that the other guys suck more. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've been muting the political ads for like 3 weeks now. It's just like, oh, for goodness sakes, enough. Or I get it. You suck and they suck. I get it. Everybody sucks. I'm voting on the 18th anyway. Stop it. Oh,
I was replying to the text that I was getting with 2 words. The second one was off.
Wow.
I threw every political ad that I received away. I never read one. They went right from the mailbox to the recycler. And then I tried to read some stuff. The news press actually does a reasonably good job of our local elections of trying to give you facts. It's hard, but they do a reasonably good job. Even Jeff Butera, I reached out to him because Jeff does news on ABC7. He listens to the show, and he's always been very friendly with the two of us. And I'm like, hey, where do you think the best information is? And he says news press. He goes, I wish we did more on the local elections, but we don't. They did their debate that they had on the
right.
It's difficult to sort through all of it, especially when you're, from a television standpoint. I mean, the newspapers, from a television standpoint, you got 6 million different races between Cape Coral and Fort Myers and Lee County and Collier County. I mean, you can't. You don't have the resources.
So we're going to get a reprieve. And I think we could all use it, to be honest with you. And besides, if you want continued angst in your life, just watch cable news. I mean, if you're feeding off the angst, if you need the negativity, just watch cable news. You'll get it in spades. So there you go. So it's a win-win. If you need a reprieve, we're going to get one. If you're feeding off the angst, well, it's right there.
It's always there.
It's just a click there. Just a click away. So either way, and how about this? We're 22 days away from kickoff of the NFL. Maybe that will fill the void in your life. Football. Football.
All right, David, I want to read a text before we go to break that we can ponder during this first hour because, well, you and I think especially me, were kicked to the curb a little bit towards the end of yesterday's show.
Okay. You want to save this now?
We can wait. You know what I like? I like where you're going. I like the fact that you're teasing it. You know what? We'll come back with the starting 5. We've got a poll question to get sponsored and come up with what it is. And then we'll get this text out to have a little conversation about it.
You know why? Because I think the early theme of the show is a combination of angst and you suck. In honor of what our local politics have been like for the last 4 to 6 weeks, we think to fill the void in your life over the course of the next 4 to 6 weeks, when you're not going to have just one ad after another saying, I may suck, but my opponent sucks more. Okay, we, in about 35 minutes, will let you know how much Miller and Moulton suck and see whether or not you agree.
Sucking for you. Miller and Moulton, Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com. And you can look live at how much we suck on twitch.tv.
Very funny from Sharpenter. Okay. I'll tell you what, though, if he was a French-Canadian hockey player, it'd be, you'd have to throw that accent on the end. It'd be Charpentier, right? But Sharpenter there does angst drive politics as much as college sports. Close.
More.
Ooh, look at that.
Poll question. What are you more sick of, political ads or the Big Ten?
Oh, wow. The Pac-12 skating here.
I know. The other one that I had very simply, red grapes, green grapes, or no grapes. That was one I came up with last night at about 9:30 while I was eating red grapes.
Green.
I prefer green too, but the red were there and they were delicious. I'm with you.
It's those hard-hitting poll questions that oftentimes get the most response. Listen, upon further review, I think we blew it with our poll question yesterday. Our poll question should have been Fernando Tatis Jr. and the unwritten rules.
No doubt.
We could do it today if we want. We could be a day late and say, hey, are you allowed to swing at a 3-0 pitch? All right.
If the sports radio landscape did that the whole day yesterday, I don't really want. It's the only reason I don't want to. Every show was all. I mean, Dan Patrick had Johnny Bench on about it.
Johnny Bench and Reggie Jackson both came to Fernando Tatis Jr.'s defense.
I retweeted both of them.
Listen, I think Johnny Bench should be commissioner.
Well, stop for a second. On that note, that was kind of one of my poll question thoughts with college football. Who should be college football's commissioner?
If college football had a commissioner,
we can have a little fun with this.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't have to be,
right. If college football had a commissioner, who should it be? All right.
Yeah.
We got to come up with 4 choices, though. 3 or 4 choices. Got to be good.
I know. So just keep that. We might, that could be a weekend poll.
Okay.
Then we had a fluffy omelet full of melted cheese, crispy bacon, and spicy jalapenos. And if you're feeling extra wild, you can get it all wrapped up in a burrito. The Southwest omelet, biscuit, and burrito.
So I went and got a coffee after work. Total was $3.26. I gave the girl $20.26, and oh my God, she didn't know what to do with herself.
Yep. Oh man, I nearly had an international incident in the last 2 days in which 14 cents was the change total, and oh boy,
she gave him $1 more than she was supposed to. Gave him back 18, not 17.
Nice.
And I'm sorry. At that point, you should keep it. I'm sorry. If you're that stupid that you can't count, it's on you. I'd give it back, but you should.
Bench was on the ESPN. Speaking of which, did I forward the story to you from Forbes?
About baseball numbers? Yeah.
Yeah. Spitz, when you say up here yesterday, are you talking New England? Because I have to admit, I just assumed that Rask was that his wife and kids were out of the country. What is he? Is he from Finland?
Yeah, but
Rask? I mean, I almost assumed if he was leaving that he was leaving, but it makes sense. I mean, Massachusetts might as well be.
And he probably did marry a Finnish girl. He probably married a hockey buddy who's American. Although I'd marry a Finn over an American. They're prettier. Is he married to an American or a Finnish girl? Come on, Spitz. We need info here.
Yeah, really.
For Christ's sake. I want a picture. How many kids? What are their names?
What part of Boston is she from?
She from Somerville?
I'm on it. Good job, Spitz. Good job.
I was going back and forth with a Buckeye fan yesterday on Twitter because I retweeted that Phil Steele thing about I said, project get this result for my daughter. And Ohio State guy just kind of came at me with, why? The season's going to get canceled anyway. And so we're all rooting for football to get canceled up here. I said, that is so Ohio State of you.
You're live.
Show's off to a good start because we are right on time. 30 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton on this hump day. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and twitch.tv channels. They're both free. Sign up for them. We would really appreciate it. You get exclusive material beginning shortly. You should sign up for the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel because you will get a bonus hour of the show on Twitch only. That's right, including coming up during the football season, Dr. Roto on Tuesdays, exclusively on our Twitch channel to help you with your waiver wire. How about that? Huh? So sign up, be a subscriber to Miller and Moulton on twitch.tv, and we're also simulcasting on Twitch on the Landry Football Network. 479-5551 is how you can chime into the show. If not in our Twitch chat room, then via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line, 239-479-5551. Coming up 30 minutes from now, why it is that Miller and Moulton suck. A text late in the show yesterday calling us out. We will address it and then let you decide who's right and who's wrong. So there. Time now for
the starting five. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton Starting 5. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Starting 5 brought to you by the Kings Lake Lounge, where the smoke is thicker than the Guinness draft. The Kings Lake Lounge in East Naples.
If you'd like to sponsor any of these segments and get rid of all the businesses who no longer exist, who are getting tremendous airplay in the last couple of weeks, feel free, reach out to Miller and or Moulton. But right now, the starting 5 brought to you by the Kings Lake Lounge. It's not often we lead with the NBA playoffs, but we had a couple of results last night that were surprise. In case you didn't watch, Portland beat the Lakers 193. That Lillard guy had 34. Mark, the Lakers are looking very much like a two-man team. Anthony Davis at 28 points, 11 rebounds. Look at LeBron's stat line. 23 points, 17 rebounds, 16 assists. And they lost with 23, 17, and 16. A triple-double is one thing, but a triple-double when every one of your numbers is above 15, that's a solid game, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, they lost 100-93. Portland up one spit.
They are offensively challenged.
Yes, they are.
Man, I've not watched a lot of Lakers this year, but when it starts going south, they don't have guys that can score. No,
I don't like their perimeter game. I think they have better players, but they remind me a lot of the Sixers right now. Anyway, Orlando, the 8 seed, a 13.5-point underdog, far and away the worst record of any team in the playoffs. So, of course, they beat the team who had the best record throughout the regular season and the overall number 1 seed, the Milwaukee Bucks, 122-110. Magic up 1-0 in that series. The Miami Heat did something yesterday, Mark, they haven't done in 20 years. They won a playoff game without Dwayne Wade. Heat 113, the Pacers 101. First win since 2000 without number 3 in uniform for them. Rockets over OKC 123-108. They lead that series 1-0. Las Vegas, the first team to officially move into the second round of the NHL playoffs. They beat the Blackhawks 4-3, winning that series in 5. Meanwhile, many of the other series are now 3-1. Philly, their second straight shutout of Montreal, 2-0. Corey Hart hasn't given up a goal in, 120-plus minutes. Flyers lead that series 3-1. Islanders had a chance to sweep the Capitals, but Ovechkin with 2 goals. Washington rallies from a 2-0 deficit to win it 3-2 and stay alive in that series. And the best series so far, Dallas and Calgary. Dallas wins game 5, 2-1. They lead the series 3-2. Major League Baseball, Rays moved to within a game and a half of the Yankees. 6-3. Tampa Bay doubled up the Bronx Bombers in the Bronx. Marlins have lost 4 in a row. Mets beat them 8-3 last night. Red Sox, man, oh man. How many in a row have they lost now? 7, 8, something like that. Phillies beat them 13-6. And
most every time they lose, the other team has double digits.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
they're not just giving up runs.
No.
They are giving up a boatload of runs every single night. Their pitching is just awful.
I mean, they're good for 8-9 runs a game right now.
You take
Give
the
it up.
over and whoever they're playing is the way it's going right now.
Washington over Atlanta 8-5. Dodgers 2-1 over Seattle. Our buddy Vogelback's really struggling. He's hitting under 100. Cubs doubled up the Cardinals 6-3.
Quick question then. If he's struggling that much, is he still the pride of Bishop Verot?
Yes, he is. He's in the major
when
leagues.
you're hitting under 100, I don't
understand.
know the pride of Bishop Verot.
You are.
Anybody from Bishop Verot can jump in and name their new son. If you're gonna dump Vogelback and he's gonna be the redheaded stepchild of Bishop Verot, who are you adopting?
No, this just in. He's in the major leagues. Okay. He's not hitting 094 in Lee County. All right.
Gotcha.
All right. He's doing it in the American League West. Oh, no. Still very much the pride. Thank you very much. By the way, we've Spitz, who's moved back to New England, or as he's referring to it these days as purgatory. He let us know on the Twitch chat room that Boston's lost 9 in a row. Thank you, Spitz. Mark, the Houston Astros have won 6 in a row. I mean, it should be pointed out. I mean, most of us are rooting against the Astros this year, but they have kind of found themselves. Altuve hasn't. I mean, he can't hit a beach ball right now. But Houston 2-1 over Colorado in 11. Astros have won 6 straight. Twins beat Milwaukee in 12, 4-3. This is an interesting game, Mark. Kenta Maeda took a no-no into the 9th, only to have the Brewers score 3 in the 9th to tie it. Then they play about an hour's worth of extra innings before the Twins come away with the win anyway, 4-3. It should be pointed out, listen, we're a little over the third, pole, if you will, of the season. Most teams have played 20 or so games, except, of course, for the St. Louis Cardinals and the Miami Marlins, and that's a whole other story. But we said when the baseball season was starting, and the baseball season started 4 weeks ago tomorrow, we said, hey, with 8 teams making it, basically, if you're 500, you're in. I mean, right? So if your team's struggling, outside of the Red Sox who have fallen off the face of the earth, but if your team goes through a period of time, listen, 500, if you can get to 500, you're going to be in or within a game of getting in. Mark, right now there's 8 teams in the American League 500 or better. The Orioles would be the 8th seed with a record of 12-11. In the National League, there's only 7 clubs above 500. But remember, this year, first and second place teams in every division make the playoffs. So you got the 7 teams above 500, and the 10-11 Milwaukee Brewers are currently the 8th seed right now because they're the second place team in the NL Central. So they would get in. So far, a third of the way through this season, what we said, hey, if you look at the end of the year every year, it's like 7 or 8 teams in every league are above 500. Well, it's holding true here. 20 or so games into this abbreviated season.
And boy, oh boy, do the Pittsburgh Pirates suck. I mean, to be worse than the Red Sox right now is tough to do.
Yes. I mean, listen, they might be the only team in baseball that when COVID struck, and it didn't strike them, but it struck their opponent, they said, really? We get 3-4 days off? That'd be fantastic. That'd be great. We'd really appreciate it. Because at the time, I think they were like 3-13. I said, yeah, we could take a few days off. They were like Crash Davis and Bull Durham.
Yeah.
All right.
We need a rain out.
We need a rain out? I can get us a rain out.
I can get us a rain out.
What do you mean? There hasn't been rain in weeks. Oh, I can get us a rain out. Gerald McCoy, remember, it was just 2 days ago that he blew out his right quad. But he vowed, I'm going to stay with the team. I'm going to mentor the young defensive lineman. The Cowboys said, no, you're not. And they cut him. Now, you can cut an injured player, but you have to, it's cut/injured. And the reason they did it was he gets his $3.5 million signing bonus. I mean, he made it through one practice. He gets the signing bonus. But they saved $2.5 million off the cap by him not being a part of the roster on opening day. But here's the thing, though. I believe when you get cut, you can't use their facilities to rehab. You can't be around the team. And that's what he was hoping to do, use their facilities, be around the team, etc. So when he gets healthy, he can sign with anybody. He's not going to be healthy this year, but
it's a blow, though. I mean, they got Griffin. They had McCoy. They thought they'd had some depth now. I mean, it does definitely loses some big-time depth on the defensive line.
And I think McCoy was going to help Lawrence out. Lawrence, who got the big contract and didn't live up to it, and to put Griffin and McCoy with them, they got a $100 million investment in this kid, and they need him to be a big-time player. Happy for Tom Flores and Drew Pearson yesterday. It's not official, Mark, but it's kind of like winning the Republican primary in Southwest Florida. When the senior committees nominate you for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, you pretty much get rubber stamped the day before the Super Bowl when the full body votes. And so Tom Flores and Drew Pearson, who have been debated for many a year as to whether or not they should be in the Hall of Fame. Flores, who won 2 Super Bowls with the Raiders. Drew Pearson, it really bothered him that
and it should.
Yes, because he was on the all-decade team in the 70s. He was first-team wide receiver in the 70s, all-decade. Harold Carmichael was second-team all-decade.
And they took Carmichael and not Pearson. And I understand why Drew Pearson was pissed off about that. I get it.
And it bothered him.
I think they made up for their mistake here on both. I thought that this vote was a clear, we were wrong statement. These guys should have been in, and we missed it. So we're going to fix it right now.
And in theory, they're going to go in on the same day or the same weekend as the quote-unquote 2020 class, because in theory, they're all going to go in the summer of 2021. Mark, I don't know if this will start the exodus, but the first college football player that I'm aware of that raised his hand and said, yeah, we're not going to play till the spring, well, then I'm done, is Michigan offensive tackle Jalen Mayfield. He's a redshirt sophomore. That means Michigan got 1 year out of him last year. He still has 3 years of eligibility remaining, but this is his third year removed from high school. So he's eligible for the draft in April of next year. Yeah, he declared for the draft yesterday. He said, yeah, I'm not playing in the spring. I'm not transferring. I'm not playing in the spring. I'm done. This means, Mark, that not only in the spring, but the next time that Michigan lines up to play football, they will have an entirely new offensive line, because they had already lost 4 starters from last year's line, and the only one who was returning was Jalen Mayfield. Well, now he's done. He's out of here. Saban, by the way, said if people like Mayfield opt out of the spring, that essentially spring football will be JV.
Yeah, and actually one more happened. It's maybe less noted, but I know the Mountain West is trying to play in the spring, or at least has talked about it. A Colorado State receiver, also Warren Jackson, announced that he's done. I'm getting ready for the draft. See you later.
So it may just be a trickle out of the spigot, but it has started. One college basketball note, Baylor and Gonzaga, who take preseason polls in any sport for what you will, but they've been 2 of the top 3 in all the preseason basketball polling that's been done here. They were not supposed to play this year. And we all know we got this pandemic going on, and we don't even think college basketball is going to start on time on November 10th. And do you know what Baylor and the Zags did anyway?
They're going to play sometime. Is it December, I thought?
Well, they're going to play. They did not announce a date because they're waiting to see. The NCAA has said in about 3 weeks they're going to publicly decide when the start date of the college basketball season is going to be. Nobody thinks it's going to be November 10th. And so Baylor and Gonzaga have said, well, we're playing. We'll wait for the NCAA to tell us the earliest possible date we can play. But you know what? We've decided we're going to play each other. Hot damn. All right. I believe,
by the way, David, that the NCAA right now is putting the dates on a dartboard of when the season's going to begin. And then Mark Emmert has 3 darts he will throw at the board. If he can hit the board, they'll use that date. The odds are he'll miss all 3 times. They'll go to his assistant, who will then throw the dart at the board.
I have faith that one of the darts will hit the board, because after Emmert misses the board with the first 2 darts, all right, Dan Gavitt is the one who handles college basketball for the NCAA. He will walk over, grab the 3rd dart out of his hand and go, man, you suck. And just throw it and just put it near the middle of the board to go, see, there you go. We're in play now. But don't you think Mark Emmert's the guy, honestly? You're at the bar, you're playing darts. And he's the guy in which basically you got to tell everybody, stand back. We have no idea where this is going. I mean, we have to let him play. I mean, he is who he is, but he sucks.
Yeah. I don't know if we'd even let him play darts, but he's the guy in a doubles game of pool you don't want as your partner.
No, you're hoping you go on a major run.
And every time, where should I line this up at? And you're like, just hit the damn thing. You're not
exactly.
I'm not going to get over here and put my finger over the 3 ball again so you can try to miss a cut shot. Just
could you do me a favor and not scratch so you don't give them ball in hand? Okay. Could you just try to leave the white ball down there in amongst the stripe balls on the other end? If you could do that, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks. And at 14 minutes before the hour, that is
the starting 5. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton starting 5. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Starting 5 brought to you by the Kings Lake Lounge, where the smoke is thicker than the Guinness Draft. The Kings Lake Lounge in East Naples.
I don't ever recall the Kings Lake Lounge.
Well, David, it's in Naples. So
now, hold on a second, though. Listen, I remember the captain's cabin.
Well, the Kings Lake Lounge would have been down airport, or not down airport, down was it Davis there, going towards the interstate.
Okay.
And the little Kings Lake region. I don't think you've ever been over there. I think there was a Beefs in that plaza. It's where the original tacos and tequila is, if I'm not mistaken. There's it's now a Publix liquor store. It's one of those places that when you were 16, there was a good chance they would give you a beer.
Nice. Every neighborhood, every quality neighborhood anyway, needs one of those places. So
put it this way, it is very much like the San Carlos Lounge, known as the Scrounge Lounge. That one has lasted. All of the other package store bars have pretty much shut down in Southwest Florida, but the Scrounge Lounge still acting like it's 1976.
You know what? And God bless him.
You're darn right.
God
You're darn right.
Miller.
A lot of people backing me on the Kings Lake Lounge right now, for the record. The guy who sent it in, very happy. Guy that sent it in, very happy, because he sent that yesterday.
These are our peeps, Mark.
And followed it yesterday at 6:46. The second text was, I got a coffee after work. Total was $3.26. Gave the girl $20.26, and oh my God, she didn't know what to do with herself. She had so much trouble giving me my change, and she gave me $18. Cash is king. I thought of you when it happened.
Well
Miller
played,
and Moulton. We will have our poll question on the other side. We've got a great text to get to at 7:00 that we'll discuss of why we suck.
I mean, you all know why. But this person gave a new reason.
And here's another thing.
And here's why.
Miller and Moulton, Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com, and you are looking live on twitch.tv.
Welcome to the program.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
I don't know how close the commissioner was to shutting down baseball after what happened to the Marlins. And now with the Cardinals, you're not going to have teams play 60 games. It's going to be based off winning.
This is Kings Lounge. Even though the Kings is gone, you can still smell the bathroom there.
I like Jack in the Twitch chat room. I've enjoyed Kings Lake Lounge a time or two.
On Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
There you go, Jack.
Hey, check this out, South.
Good for you.
You know that sweet trade-in deal we've been doing?
Took my buddy in there once. He didn't even want to sit down. Come on.
Years old with less than.
Come on. What kind of a guy won't sit down at a bar?
Is going to give you.
Don't want to sit down.
SRP for it. Wait, what?
And Mark, remember, I may get the heebie-jeebies going to Collier County, but not if it's a bar.
Right, not East Naples.
Yeah, I can go to a bar anywhere.
But only at Naples Nissan.
Very comfortable in a bar.
Chrysler, Chevy.
High end, low end, doesn't matter. Very comfortable in a bar.
That old 2012 you're driving now that needs new tires. Bluetooth, no Bluetooth. Backup camera, no backup camera. Come on, it's a no-brainer, folks. Visit NaplesNissan.com for full details, or come see us on Pine Ridge Road and drive home in that brand new Nissan today. Offers on select models with approved credit and cannot be combined.
Are you ready to take your game and athletic training to the next level? Looking to improve your speed, posture, endurance, conditioning, and mental training? Or any sport meet your potential at Academia Sanchez Casal, Florida, and Naples. Operated by tennis superstars, Olympic silver medalist Emilio Sanchez and Arantxa Sanchez, the former world champ with 14 Grand Slam titles. You won't get this level of training anywhere else. And now expanded to include highly stylized off-court hydro pool programs for ages 10
Exactly, Jack.
Trainer and founder of Hydro Athletics, Stephen DeViti, will coach you or your child through a
I will say, Captain's Cabin, one of the 10 best dives I've ever been in.
athletic training using the latest in resistance technology and equipment. Safely and
God, I'm trying to think who the poll question should be brought to you by today.
Short and long-term programs for beginners,
Which is okay.
professional athletes of any sport. Step up your game.
What are we doing here? You got anything?
Find Stephen DeViti Hydro Athletics on Instagram or visit asc-florida.com. Like Miller and Moulton on Facebook. Just search Miller and Moulton.
You like that?
It's Fred Kobe with your Kobe Cooling Tip of the Day. There's lots of new air conditioning commercials about ductwork and attics that are all about hot air. These commercials are sales scams and they're designed to scare people about mold and sell you new ductwork. These people aren't experts in air conditioning. They're only experts in sales. Real experts are NATE certified mechanics, and they're experts in the entire air conditioning system. Don't fall for the sales scams and keep these scammers out of your attics. NATE stands for North American.
We go with grapes for all I care.
And unless your air conditioning guy is a NATE
All right, we're doing it.
He's second best to us.
Oh,
Cleaning and duct sealing scams now include duct replacement scams, and they're just sales scams to separate you from your money. Steer clear of the hot air by calling Kobe Cooling at 482-1542. License CACO 57313. Kobe, the most trusted name in the business since 1949.
Looking for a frameless shower door? My Shower Door has just opened their 8th Florida
Well,
conveniently located in Cape Coral. With more than 75
yes, the Sabatini,
shower doors installed.
the between the leg shot.
Experience.
I think it was Mary Carrillo who called it the Sabatini.
We've been named #1 by readers of the News Press and Naples News for 17 consecutive years and have just been named as Lee County's Manufacturer of the Year. Want to see more? Go to myshowerdor.com.
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
7 minutes before the top of the hour. Thanks for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, millerandmoulton.com, the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels, simulcasting live on the Landry Football Network, and either next week or the week after, you'll get a bonus hour exclusively on Twitch. After our regularly scheduled show, we'll do a special football hour on the Landry Football Network and Miller and Moulton's Twitch channel as well. Coming up in a matter of minutes, another reason why we suck, thanks to a listener and texter yesterday, and we'll see whether or not you agree. Not that whether or not we suck, we know you agree with that sentiment, just this specific reason why, coming up in a matter of minutes.
so we do poll questions. You know, I was having fun today. I said to David, what are you more sick of, political ads or the Big Ten? And had a little fun with that. You know, sometimes we go sports, sometimes we go alcohol. And I came up with a poll question during the first break to David. And as we're going through that last break, I says, what do you think? And he goes, just do the damn grape question.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm just going to do the damn grape question. Because last night while watching a little Lakers Portland, this just in, I went to the refrigerator. And there was ice cream in the freezer. And I tried to stay away. So I went to the drawer with the produce. My daughter loves grapes. There were grapes there. I prefer green grapes. There were red grapes in there. Red grapes were just fine. So today's poll question, red grapes, green grapes, no grapes.
I like it. All right.
Today's poll question is brought to you by Asia Lounge in Bonita Springs, where vacationers occasionally go home with locals. The Asia Lounge in Bonita Springs.
I didn't realize you were so good with slogans before. You know, like back in your radio sales days when you and I would have to come up with copy for our clients. You know, I don't remember you being this witty, okay, with your clients as you are now. Or maybe you were, and they just played it safe and said, no, I don't want to go with that.
A lot of B there.
A lot of B.
They
Right.
wouldn't really let me do what I wanted to do with a lot of my. I mean, you heard me. I want to do the ad for the place that does the side of your house for the woodpeckers. Don't come
Right.
in. I want the commercial to start with. You got pecker problems? You're gonna get everybody's attention.
It will. It's kind of like the company that says, "Is your wife hot?"
Is your wife hot?
Right. Okay.
Your
You've got
wife's hot. You know.
You got my attention. Well played. Well
So
done.
I can write copy occasionally.
All right. Our poll question yesterday was: some teams are going to have fans in the stands this year. Would you go to a football game in 2020? This is high school, college, or pro. 56% of you said you would. You would go to a football game this year. 44% of you said no, that's not happening. Tennessee announced yesterday, by the way, 25%. The governor and Philip Fulmer talked about it, and the Vols are going to have 25% capacity at their games at Neyland Stadium, which I believe in the expansion, that sucker holds a little over 100,000 now. So you're looking at about 26,000 people then that they're going to have at their games.
Yeah, Bama announced yesterday 20% at their games.
So now, and I thought they were making that stadium a little smaller. It was a little over 100. I think they were making it now in the 90s. So you're looking at 20,000 then for Bama games. I'm just curious, Mark, how many of it is going to be students? Honest, I mean, their student fees. You got the band. I mean, how many of the 20 or so thousand that you're going to let into these games are you going to allow be students? Because obviously, they don't pay at the gate, if you know what I mean.
Well, not as much. I know they pay at some places, but you are right. They don't want them on campus at all, David. Just the football players. Just the football players.
It's that time again to hear from our good friend
Notre Dame, Michigan State, North Carolina.
So yesterday, after you text me,
sounds like you have a lot of that very
after you text me, I text a friend of mine who is. Did I send you this?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can do this on air.
$30,000 to live in the dorms and take classes
Online, right?
Yeah.
Versus 15,000 to be at home and take the same classes online.
Or defer and $5,000 to do it at Traverse City CC. And I mean, my buddy's a doctor. Like, it's not this, he's got 5 kids. I don't think he wants to fork it out. But I mean, Steve's wife's been a housewife. He's a doctor. They do just fine. And he's bummed out because his older kids went there, and they loved going down. They met at Michigan State. So, obviously they enjoy going back to campus.
Well, the big question, and I don't know if you know this answer or not, is if the kid stays home then and does a community college year for COVID reasons, is his spot still reserved at Michigan State?
Yeah, he deferred.
Okay. Then I'd say you got to stay home. And I mean, first off, you can stay home you stay home just to save the $15,000. Sorry, kid, I'm not sending you up there. You can take the same damn classes online here.
Pool need a checkup? Call the doctor, the pool doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. Is your pool a pain to operate? Automation is the answer. Use your
I know you're bummed, but I'll tell you what, I'll give you 5 of the $15,000, okay? That make you feel better? I still get to put $10,000 back in my pocket.
Right.
Your prescription is the pool doctor for award-winning pool service. Repairs.
That's right. That's right, Spitz. He deferred to the second semester.
239
Well played.
1133. State certified CPC 0570.
Well played.
Station with balls and strikes. We also have strikes. WFSX AM from Naples to Cape Coral and all of Southwest Florida. We are Buckworth. Here's what's trending now. Brought to you by the Center for Men's Health. C4MH.com.
Right now, I have 41 games on my schedule, not including the Sun Bowl, because I don't think that's going to happen. "41 games."
There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
How the heck are you?
Yep, that's it. Miller
I drove, which made me happier. I didn't let anybody else behind the wheel of the car.
and Moulton.
Look at you. I'm the man of the house.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, broadcasting live from the Kobe Cooling Remote Studios, where it's always cool and comfortable.
Oh, I like it's up to you now. It's up to you. I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live. As we approach a couple minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? We are Miller and Moulton. And, well, you can get us a variety of places. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, millerandmoulton.com, live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels, and even simulcasting on Twitch on the new Landry Football Network. You can chime into the show via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. Call or text in at 479-5551. That's 239-479-5551. Pat Kirwan in an hour. Pat couldn't make it yesterday. They're having to do yeoman's work, Mark, because for those that are familiar with Pat's NFL radio show, he's normally on the road doing training camp tours. Well, they're doing virtual tours. So it's, get interviews when and where you can, et cetera. And so Pat was tied up doing an interview during our normal time slot yesterday. So Pat will join us in an hour. Seth Everett will join us in a little more than an hour. So a big final hour of the show with Pat Kirwan and Seth Everett, two of our favorites here on Miller and Moulton.
Very excited for Seth because with the new software, we get to see what the 3-shot looks like.
Oh,
looky there. Huh?
Wow.
I have no idea what it's going to look like because we haven't even tried this yet.
Uh-oh.
It could be an utter disaster.
Which apparently our show was yesterday, or has been for a while, based on a text we received near the end of the show yesterday.
Okay. So at 8:55, we received this text. And it was about Jay Paterno coming on our show. Jay was on our show. Jay seemed to be very much on board with what Penn State was doing. Jay wanted football, but he is on board with the decision Penn State made.
Correct.
Interesting. Finally, a guest that doesn't agree with your suspected conspiracy theories about conferences opting out. He gave well-thought, reasonable answers, but you two gave more weight to a homer like Bobby Carpenter simply because you want to see football regardless. I understand it makes your job easier, but thankfully, some people are looking at the bigger picture. Even it's protecting the student body at large because that affects more of the bottom line financially. If the reason can't stop the virus overall, can't make tough choices necessary. I answered him. I said, what are my conspiracy theories?
Right.
I don't. And he said, you're dismissing what he said because you don't agree. I also said, explain to me how you're going to protect the student body by putting them on campus in dorm rooms. That's all. Because Jay kept going about protecting that. If we can't let the players travel, because if the players travel, they're going to come back and infect the students, which I think is a load of bull. The students are going to infect the students. We've watched it at North Carolina, East Carolina. We're watching it at Oklahoma State. We're seeing it at every college campus in the country. But neither here nor there. You're dismissing what he said because you don't agree. I happen to agree with him. It's not a conspiracy theory that is politically motivated. Counting governors of the parties who universities shut down, and somehow that is proof that is political. That sounds to me like a conspiracy without facts. And that's where he's basing his conspiracy.
Gotcha.
We're the only ones who have said that this is political. It's not our conspiracy theory.
Well, and I don't believe it's as political as those that believe it is. Do I think in some cases that it's played a role? Yes. And this is a debate that I've had for what it's worth with a variety of my friends who think it is very political. But we did just point out the numbers. okay, which are fascinating. And that's how I view it. I do find this part of it fascinating. Like yesterday, I believe it was in the 26 Republican governors, 25 of them are going to have high school football in their states this year. In 22 Democratic governors, only 7 of them right now are allowing high school football. And there are 2 governors whose party affiliation I don't know, who were undecided as of yesterday. So that is an interesting breakdown. Now, obviously,
that was yesterday, I believe.
Yeah, which is, think about it now. You want to talk about Buckeye fans who already are not the happiest campers.
Republican governor.
So right now we're going to have high school football in the state of Ohio on Fridays. We're going to have pro football on Sundays, and then Buckeye fans are going to have to hear all about the Cincinnati Bearcats.
Right. Yeah. I didn't mean the Bengals. I meant the Bearcats.
Right. So, I mean, the angst is only going to grow amongst Buckeye Nation. All right. If, in fact, high schools and the Bearcats and the Bengals and the Browns are able to play. And so, yeah, the part that you and I didn't agree with, and it is a fair point. I mean, this is one of the few things that Mark and I actually agree upon. And, for what it's worth, those who need to claim this nowadays, I'm a science guy. Okay. But I am surprised the Big Ten did not try. The August 11th pull the plug shocked me. September 11th. Okay. August 11th shocked me. I mean, I'm sorry. You hadn't started practices yet. The guys had only worked out. Now, I know at Rutgers and Michigan State, you had some outbreaks, but at the other programs, you hadn't. And they had been working out together for 2 months. And as we've talked about, we think you have a better chance of isolating the athletes than you do of the general student population. And how many, as of August 11th, how many Big Ten schools had said we're online only? I don't know if any of them had.
I don't think any of them had at that point.
And that's why, Mark, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but for me, okay, even if I'm concerned about this going forward, I am just surprised they didn't go further with it. And for lack of a better expression, they didn't try. They are anticipating bad things happening, which may very well happen. I do think the one thing that the texter, in fairness to us, missed out on is we have said, hey, Commissioner Warren, the Big Ten might be right here. They may turn out to be the NBA and the Ivy League back on March 11th. I mean, they may. The Pac-12 and the Big Ten may get the last laugh here. But I am surprised they did not kick this can further down the road before kicking it off the road.
He finishes with the entire college model is in financial jeopardy if students aren't on campus, and that financial impact, as Jay alluded to, if athletes are traveling and being exposed on the road and bring it back to campus. I think it's wishful thinking that they are in a bubble. Longtime listener going back to the Dixie Moon Cafes days.
Nice.
Almost threw that in as a sponsor for him today. Love the show. Just don't agree here. Thanks for the reply. Well, first off, I reply to everybody. I mean, damn near everybody.
Which is another transformation, ladies and gentlemen, because in our first act, all right, I handled the emails, which we don't get anymore, but Mark handled the texters. And to get a reply, all right, from Mark Miller nearly would take a court order.
It's not true. I replied all the time. Thanks for listening.
Exactly. I mean, which with all, and I used to say to him, you do know how this looks. All right, if I sent you this impassioned text and all you keep giving me back is thanks for listening, and this just in, by the way, the next time you fire somebody or somebody leaves, do not wish them all the best in their future endeavors. I mean, honestly, that's like, thoughts and prayers during a school shooting now. I mean, stop it. Come up with a new line. Please. Don't wish them. We wish them all the best in their future endeavors.
I would only do the thanks for listening for people who started the text out or the email with basically Jane, you ignorant slut, where they would carve me for 3 paragraphs and I would simply reply,
Thanks for listening. Right. But, those are the people, though, who will text more than once. And imagine you're them and you're like, man, the last 5 times I've texted, all he said is thanks for listening. You know what he's basically saying? You know what he's saying to me?
Blank yourself.
Right.
Exactly what it is. Make no mistake. If you got one of those from me, That's
Right.
what I was telling you.
And now,
I have not sent one thanks for listening in Act 2.
right. I mean, now, ladies and gentlemen.
If I do, it's say thanks for listening, and then I give a long answer to their question. So
And here's why.
Is actually sincere now.
Right.
It's actually flipped.
I mean, this transformation, ladies and gentlemen, that has happened in the second act, for those of you who are new to the show in the last 2-3 years, you have no idea what is going on. I mean, this is like a Democrat becoming a Republican or vice versa. That's how different this Mark Miller is.
I will say, best text I've ever received.
What?
Just right now. Thanks for broadcasting. There's some blue emu coming here right now. That's top shelf right there. I like that a lot.
Well played, sir.
So yesterday, David, you sent me a text early evening that said, hey, Michigan State's going all online.
Right.
And we know the Big Ten's not playing football because they didn't want to try. Although there is one guy out there living on a ledge who put out a tweet and has been on a couple radio shows. I mean, like he was on in Nebraska. I think the Barstool guys at least brought him up. But this Sir Knight that has a podcast in Ohio early in the week said the Big Ten's going to reverse course on Friday. I've got a source.
Right.
So he's on an island. I just throw it out there for the Buckeye fans. Because as I retweeted it and said, if this is true, Sir Knight becomes King Knight instantly.
You got that right.
If that's the case. But there's one guy in Big Ten country still holding on.
There's one blogger who says they're reversing course.
But for the rest of you, there is no football. But when David texted me that, I said, well, that's interesting because I was pretty certain that they were moving in. And I say that because a very good friends of mine, went to high school with one, and I went to college with both, and actually spent 6 weeks in Europe with Stacy when I took classes over there. They've got, I think, 5 kids, and their third is just entering Michigan State. And so when you sent me that, I sent Steve a text, and I said, hey, just found out State's going online. I thought your boy was starting there this year. Just curious, what are you doing? He says, well, it was $30,000 for him to live in the dorms and take online classes.
Is that all?
It was $15,000 for him to take online courses and live at home. We're opting with a deferment and $5,000 at the local school.
Wait. Hold on a second. Mark, I didn't realize Michigan State's internet was so damn good. I mean, a $15,000 fee for Sparty's internet. Damn.
Yep. Take your classes online. We're still taking the money. And I bring this up because this is exactly what David and I were talking about yesterday. This is why I disagree with what the texter was saying and why David said yesterday, and I think he's 100% right, that the collegiate world is pulling a gigantic bait and switch on parents and students across the country right now. They want to get them on campus. They're going to have an outbreak. They're going to make it online. But what did they get? They got their money.
Yep. Because let's face it, to step into the dorms, you have to have your check. You can't, to step into the dorms, you have to have paid for the room. So once they move in, there you go. And North Carolina, now, yes, did they have an outbreak? Yes, they did. All right. Could their decision be 100% genuine? Of course it could. But it did just so happen to be the day after deposits and or refunds were to take place. The day after that the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill said, nope, you guys got to go home. Oh, really? Huh, this was an expensive week we spent up here. It really was. Mark, I know you went to the mountains of North Carolina. Let me tell you something. Your week in the mountains of North Carolina, not nearly as expensive as the week in the dorms at Chapel Hill.
To review, in yesterday's Tar Heel Daily, they used the word cluster and the word that goes with it in a headline in the school paper.
And did not use asterisks, correct?
No. Spelled out.
All 11 letters. Right. Mm-hmm. The 8th one is F, and the 11th one is K.
And as David said yesterday, someone on Twitter took a picture of it, retweeted it, and said, "Give him the Pulitzer now."
Correct. And I will appreciate their effort. They at least defined it in the story.
Yes.
Used it in the headline and then defined it in the story. All right. Are you then, by the way, allowed to use that when you're in class at North Carolina? Can you use that in class and go, hey, it was in the student newspaper?
Depends on the professor. And for half the class at North Carolina, I'm not sure the professors show up, David. They just give grades. But here we are, and we started a while back. And David and I both said it. Hey, how do you have college football if you don't have kids on campus? And it seems that they are going with the opposite of that model wherever they can. We can have football as long as we don't have anybody on campus.
There you go. They're figuring this out.
And, you know, David, you said when we all go online, what's the difference between UNC and University of Southern New Hampshire? It's called a basketball team. I mean, that's really the difference between North Carolina and Southern New Hampshire these days, are athletic teams, right? Because if I'm the University of Phoenix, I'm applying for D1 status tomorrow, and I'm just going to get the 5 best basketball players I can get. We're good. What's the difference? They're online. We're online. I want in the tournament.
Is there a conference that'll take us?
AAC. Call Oresco.
Miller and Moulton, 479-5551, 479-5551 is the number to chime in via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. Dandy Coins in our Twitch chat room said, politics with Miller and Moulton. Thanks for streaming. No. Not talking politics. You know, there are many that believe that the two are intertwined here. Okay, we are talking follow the money, though. I mean, and Jay Paterno was correct to point out, hey, it may be $50 million that the Big Ten shares amongst their teams in terms of revenue in the athletics. It's $400 to $500 million in terms of the kids on campus and the dorms and all that. And listen, we're wrong about a lot, but we said this 4+ months ago. We said this is more than the future of athletics in college. This is the entire university system. I mean, Mark, think about how panicked athletic departments are about the loss of revenue. You got to remember, this goes back to the spring. We didn't have an NCAA tournament. There was $400 to $500 million that did not get spread out amongst 400 schools, because there was no March Madness. Never mind any of the other tournaments. I mean, say what you will. I mean, the regular season costs money, but in a lot of cases, they make money on their NCAA tournaments. I mean, people actually go to that. Fans and parents travel. You know, they get television money for baseball and softball and lacrosse and all that. I mean, these are money makers at the end of the season. Maybe not during the season as a whole. So there's hundreds of millions of dollars that athletic departments lost out on going back to March, April, May, and June. Now they're looking at football money. Well, you know, we've gotten into the debt load that certain athletic departments have for the, you know, new weight room and the new this and the new that. I mean, you know, the University of Florida, I believe, is building a brand new, I think it's baseball stadium. I think they're finally upgrading their baseball stadium. And now it's the University of Florida is one of the best run athletic departments in the country. It's self-sufficient. They give money back to the general fund every year. So they're going to be fine. And certain places like Stanford have a $27 billion endowment. They can handle this. And yet they're even cutting 11 sports. But let's just say you have a healthy endowment. Okay, but if we're talking $400 to $500 million, that could disappear. I mean, how many of these schools can afford that? I mean, we know the University of Akron can't. They fired 90 people before they were letting in kids to school.
And David, the other side of this, where the school part and the athletic part hit, and I've pointed this out several times, as have you, David. You know, I just mentioned my friend whose son is going to defer. That's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
Regardless of football being played, kids going back to campus and all of that, People were making the choice to not go back to college, to defer this year. I know I have a friend who is a professor at Rutgers. She said that numbers are way down. Well, if that's happening at the big schools, it's happening everywhere. I'm sure we could do a little digging and find out what's going on at FGCU. Now, I have a feeling, because Florida is Florida, our numbers will be a little higher than national because we've been out and about a little more than the rest of the country for what it's worth. But, again, North Carolina State had a COVID outbreak. North Carolina's had a COVID outbreak. Kids are not staying socially distant and they're not following the rules. There's a shocker. Is anybody surprised that college kids are going to parties when they get on campus? We said this yesterday. They've been cooped up since March. And now we've just let the 18 to 22-year-olds on the loose. Yeah, they're going to socially distance. Who in their right mind thinks that's going to happen?
I mean, do some math here. This is a lot of zeros, but do some math. Pick the major university in your life. How many undergrads do they have? There are reports that 1/3 to 40% of undergrads are not returning to campus this year to start. So let's just imagine in the case of UCF, which is a huge student population. So let's just say 1/3 of them do not go to campus this year. They're not planning on it. So that's around 17,000. Okay. The situation that your friend described, it would cost me normally $30,000 to send my kid on campus this year. We're going to keep them at home and do the $5,000 community college and defer for a year. Well, I don't know if the local community college and versus what UCF's tuition is, but just do the math. Let's just say it's a, $20,000 difference. Well, 17,000 students times 20,000. If my math's correct, I think that's $340 million.
Well, David, just from the athletic department, because I quickly looked up while you were talking, just specifically with UCF, I Googled what are the athletic fees for UCF students. And according to their website, full-time undergrad students taking 12 hours will contribute around $172 to the athletic department per semester.
Per semester.
Based on 17,000, that's just under $3 million.
That's per semester.
That's 2 semesters. That's $6 million that just went out the window.
In student fees.
For UCF, if your numbers are right, at 17,000 kids. And I think that that's reasonable.
Yeah. So, and do the math around the country.
That's just an athletic fees. Now, what are they paying for their dorms? Because the dorms are basically the equal amount of what your tuition is. If that $30,000 was basically 15 a semester at Michigan State, 7,500, that's room and board, guaranteed, maybe $8. If I remember right, when my son was a freshman at East Carolina, his room and board money was a touch higher than what his tuition money was each semester.
Yeah, my math's right, by the way. 17,000 times 20,000. If, say, a third of your student population. Now, UCF's got a big, let's just say like Michigan State, I'm assuming, is in the 30,000.
About 40. They're big. They're
okay.
A rather large, one of the bigger in the Big Ten. I think Ohio State's the biggest and then Sparty.
So let's just do, 15,000 aren't going to show. That's around 30%. So we'll even do less if you want. We'll do a third. We'll do 12,000. Well, if it's 30,000 to go there,
and 15 a semester, but yeah.
Okay, 30,000 times 12,000. I mean, that's $360 million. That's not showing up this year because kids are deferring and student population is going to go down. Then, like you pointed out, how much money, that's just going to the main university. Never mind the student fees off of the 1/3 of the students who aren't going to pay into the pot this year. Well, that's probably a few $1 million. Now we start talking about the Big Ten's going to try to recoup. I mean, hey, imagine you're running Fox and ESPN. You're going to want to have to pay full freight for spring football? I mean, never mind the fact that spring football doesn't happen. Both networks will be like, yeah, you ain't getting this money. You got to be kidding me. You didn't play football this year. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, the bulk of your money's not coming. And for that matter, I don't think we should give you a full check because you gave us spring football either. Don't know what to tell you. I mean, your lawyers and our lawyers can fight this out here. So, cannot state enough the financial impact. And Jay Paterno's right in that sense. Hey, we're trying to protect the $400 to $500 million investment, and we're much more concerned about that than we are the $50 million investment. Fair enough, man. Fair enough. Miller and Moulton. Pat Kirwan at the top of the hour. Seth Everett in an hour. Your calls, and texts, and comments, whether it be in the Twitch chat room or via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. 20 minutes away from today was the day when. Miller and Moulton. Thanks for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
This is The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
Zion was on a minutes restriction. This is bulldoze parenting by the Pelicans. You just path for your kids.
Mark.
Games. You're not in the playoffs yet. You've got to win these games.
Mark, you're the president of Michigan State.
Zion wasn't on the floor at the end. Put him in for 2 minutes.
And with the lawsuits and the damages in the last couple of years and everything, and now you're looking at the revenue that's going to be lost this year. I mean, I'm guessing you guys have, I don't know, a $10 billion endowment.
I'm sure.
So big and so
But let me tell you, between Nasser and this, you're cutting into it.
No doubt.
Trained our staff and developed our product.
No doubt. By the way, the guy that's one of the writers for Outkick the Coverage tweeted out during that last segment that we were on the air. I obviously didn't interrupt, but where is it? Basically, that there is a rumor of a 5-team, 10-game Big Ten schedule.
Going on now at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Lowest prices ever on over 50.
Wait, 5-team, 10-game?
Yes.
$399 per month. Loaded luxurious Grand Cherokee limited lease, $329 per month. New Ram Bighorn Crew Cab lease, $319 per month. That's right, award-winning Ram trucks, $319 per month. Plus at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, you can drive payment-free for 3 months, interest-free for 6 years, and worry-free up to 100,000 miles. And our parts service and body shop are open to serve you. Summer clearance event featuring
Ravel just retweeted. Rumors circulated last night there was a plan for a bunch of Big Ten teams to break away from the Big Ten's decision not to play. And he says at this time there's no real talk of that happening. Did you watch the thing that Casio sent you about Ravel from Club Pro Guy?
No.
Do me a favor, David. Take 2.5 minutes after the show and watch it.
Okay.
It's the best. You know, Clay Travis and Ravel have been going at it now for a while on Twitter. Right. I wanted to tweet at Clay and say, Club Pro Guy in 2.5 minutes did what you've been trying to do for 3 months. I have never seen Ravel punked the way they did.
Get this level of training anywhere else. And now expanded to include highly stylized off-court.
I will say this, though. There aren't a lot of people who leave the 4-letter network and become bigger. Darren Ravel's much bigger now than he was when he was on ESPN. And if for no other reason that, I mean, if you're polarizing enough so that other outlets come after you, Cowherd, much bigger on Fox than he was on ESPN.
Yes. Yeah, he wasn't doing Bill Maher.
Right. Yeah, well, it's laughable to think of that, to think that he'd be invited.
Now, he's in L.A., and that does,
Yeah. But Maher flies everybody out. So, I mean, that's not a problem. But I don't think Cowherd, because he wouldn't be doing the same show on the 4-letter network as he is now. So he wouldn't be as polarizing. Therefore, he wouldn't end up on Bill Maher. MSU endowment, $3 billion. Thank you. Hey, between Nasser and the amount of money lost this year, yeah, Darren Ravel could be on any network now. Now, there's the danger when you're as polarizing as he is right now. I mean, you could get taken down. But
I still think that happens to Clay at some point.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that
he's gaining strength. I was been pretty wrong on that. And I mean, don't think I don't like Clay. We had Clay on our show. We were one of the first shows to get Clay on our show when he was in Nashville. I was actually the one that went to David and John. And said, hey, this Clay Travis guy, this outkick the coverage thing, this guy's got his shit together. That I will say, Heckle, I don't know how well the whole outkick. He might, because he's kind of got a Trump base. You know, he's gone so far right that maybe they will pay, but I don't know. I don't know. There's not enough content there. Like, are you going to pay for The Athletic or Clay Travis and Jason Whitlock? You know, The Athletic, I can pay far less money and get 6,000 reporters until they go out of business, because they will.
Now back to Miller and Moulton. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live, Miller and Moulton YouTube and twitch.tv channels. Chime in via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line, 479-5551, 479-5551. Proud to be the morning show on the brand new Landry Football Network, a 24/7 football channel on twitch.tv. Our poll question yesterday, in case you missed it in our first hour, we asked you, hey, there are some places that are going to have fans this year for their football games. Would you go? And 56% of you said, yeah, if they'll take me, if I can get a ticket, yeah, I'll go. 44% of you said, nope. I'm sitting out this year. Our question today is, very hard hitting. I mean, once again, the big issues of the day, that's what Miller and Moulton are all about.
Sure, we could have said what number one seed's in more jeopardy, the Lakers or the Bucks, but we know our audience.
Right.
Half our audience doesn't care about the NBA playoffs. And I appreciate the person who texted that question into the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text line, because it's a really good question.
It is.
It's a terrific question. And if we were in a different market, that very well may have been our question. But when we asked if you're watching the NBA playoffs, and 57% of our audience said they're not interested at the playoffs at all.
Ever. There's nothing that could happen that would put the NBA playoffs on their TV screen.
So when 6 of 10 off the hop say they're not even interested in the playoffs, it leads us to not do a lot of NBA poll questions.
Right. By the way, the answer to the question is the Lakers.
Yes.
All right. I mean, don't get me wrong. I picked Lakers in 5, but I said it's going to be 5 really good close games. I just thought that LeBron and company at the end would win a bunch of 3 to 5 point games. They lost a 7-point game last night. But Mark, today, the shortest poll question ever.
Yes. Grapes.
Question mark. That's it.
Red or green. I do love that we did none. We did get a tweet back that said crushed, and I'm with you, but I wasn't going to let wine be part of the list. I almost went frozen, but I just went red or green.
Well, shouldn't then your answer, if you prefer red wine, shouldn't your answer then be red? And if you prefer, white wine, shouldn't your answer be green?
It's funny. I like red wine, prefer green grapes.
Huh.
It's all about leaving the skin in when you juice them, though, David. That's the coloring thing.
Mark, I like the smell of coffee. I don't like the taste. Very weird. I like apples.
A lot of people, though. A lot of people love the smell of coffee and do not like coffee.
I like apples. Have grown tired of apple sauce.
Well, you're not 6.
Yeah. Well, and also in my case,
there's a certain time in your life, David, when you just don't do applesauce anymore.
Okay.
Sure, once or twice a year, if someone's making pork chops so you can do the whole Peter Brady thing, that's fine. But unless you're 6, applesauce 6 or 76 and you've lost your teeth. I mean, there are a couple of reasons for applesauce. And I don't really think middle-aged men scooping down applesauce is a good look.
I understand. I'm
still it on the shelf, David.
Just pointing it out, though. That's
you
all.
Can still it on the shelf.
Oh, no, there's a jar of it in our house. Okay. I'm pretty sure it's from the Clinton administration. But no, I mean, everybody's got a jar. Whether it's in the fridge and it's been opened or whether it's in the cupboard. Okay. And when the major hurricane comes and there's not much left, that's all you're going to have. You're going to have the Clinton administration applesauce. But I will say, though, Mark, I do think for those of us that, as a kid, sometimes there was the go-to thing to get you to take your medicine. Okay. For some, it was pudding. For others, it was applesauce. And I had a lot of ear, nose, and throat problems as a kid. And so I had to take a lot of pills until about a teenager. And I ate a lot of applesauce. And I literally just reached a point in which I said to my mother, if you feed me applesauce anymore, I'm done.
Did you give up on apple? So you gave up on applesauce before your mother gave up on cooking?
No. My mother gave up on cooking when I was 9. No, applesauce lasted a little longer.
Okay.
Right. Little longer. Right.
Not cooking, but she did at least get you a thing of applesauce and stuck it in the fridge where the top would get those brown.
Yes.
Because you had the glass.
Right. Now, as Dandy Coins and Heckelhide have pointed out in our Twitch chat room, apple butter, solid. Okay. I'll go with that.
Apple butter is delicious.
I don't mind an apple glaze on anything. Outstanding.
I can see you being a big apple fritter guy, David.
So grapes, ? That's our poll question.
I really should have had green, none, or Don Cherry.
Yes. Our hockey diehards would have loved it.
They really would have.
Would have loved it. You know what I can't believe, by the way, speaking of Don Cherry, between NBC and the NHL network that he's not on somewhere.
The NHL network would have been the place. NBC, I don't think, you never know. He's a ticking time bomb of what he's going to say.
But remember, there was a while there where they would bring him in like 3 years in a row. They brought him in during the finals.
I know. I think NHL network would have been perfect for him. But you're right. I will say that it is amazing when you watch the games side by side, the NBA and the NHL. The gal that's the one that got Roenick in all the trouble because he said he thought she was hot and wanted the three-way.
Well, with all due respect, she didn't get him in trouble. He got him in trouble. He referenced her.
No, they referenced her. He was on a Barstool interview. They started talking about her, and
Catherine Tappan,
and he jumped in. He basically said she's hot, and I'd have it.
Right. I'm friends with her. My wife and her are really good friends. Right, and he joked about right. Well, but you can't blame her for that.
No, it's just. Right. But I put it this way: could you get Roenick back on? Because I'd rather have him than Milbury. I'd rather have anybody than what they give it.
I know you would.
Terrible. Their presentations without Emmerich, the quality of this is really bad. And the hockey's great. Their broadcasts are leaving a lot to be. The whole show's leaving a lot to be desired.
I think Forsland's been terrific. I think Eddie Olczyk actually has been really good. I do. I think Eddie's kind of, first off, his health is better. Okay. I think he's got more energy than he's had the last couple of years, and he seems to be embracing it. And that's great news because, unfortunately, with some of what Eddie Olczyk went through for a couple of years, it took the life of Dale Hawerchuk yesterday, a great player at the way too early age of 57 due to stomach cancer that came back. There's a whole generation that do not realize what a gifted player he was because he played in the shadows, and the Winnipeg Jets were in the shadows of the Edmonton Oilers. And those were in the days where you had to go through your division to get out. And, you couldn't get through Edmonton. I mean, Calgary managed twice to get by Edmonton to get out of the Smythe division, and Winnipeg could never get by Edmonton, ever. And Hawerchuk, great player, well over a point a game guy. It's over 100 points as a rookie. I mean, really gifted player. I mean, he had 100 points as an 18-year-old. I mean, just think about that. I mean, for as great as Crosby was, Dale Hawerchuk as an 18-year-old first-round pick, he had like 98 points or 100 points. Now, I know that hockey was a little different in the mid-'80s and all that, but, I mean, anyway, gifted player. For those in the hockey world, it was a very big loss. He was a big member of the Canada Cup team in the 90s. Terrific player. Ended his career with that Flyers team that lost to the Wings in the finals. That was his final year in the NHL. Never won a cup.
But you are right. Playing in Winnipeg might as well be the witness protection program,
right?
For most people, even now today with that team, it's not somewhere where you're going to get a lot of notoriety. I will say, I still like Patrick Sharp when he's on there. He brings energy to the show. I don't know what they're doing with Keith Jones. Get rid of him. He's not a name. He's not that good. He's not good looking. I mean, there's not anything about him when I look at it going, boy, you've got to have that guy on there. I think when you do the Eddie Olczyk and Anson Carter's been working because they've had energy and they feed off one another, and Anson Carter's been having fun, kind of poking Eddie about the horses because he'll make bets and he goes, well, Eddie's been rubbing off on me. But there's chemistry there. But, I think Patrick Sharp's terrific. I think he and Catherine Tappan go well together. Every time Steve Jones talks, it's like, who's the third guy?
Okay.
But I mean, they have a bunch of people, Keith Jones. They have a bunch of people. I mean, come on. You have Shaq and Charles Barkley.
Oh, I know.
On the other show.
Well,
2 of the 50 greatest players in their sport. Keith Jones could walk down the street in any city not named Philadelphia, and no one would know who he is.
Well, and don't know how many people care about this, but a big reason why I believe he's on the show is Comcast, owned by folks out of Philadelphia. Jones has been part of the Flyers broadcast forever, and so when they got a hold of the hockey broadcasts, they, I think, brought Keith Jones in, and so he's a staple. And hey, sometimes it's good to have those relationships.
Right, and that's Milbury's from Massachusetts. He played in Boston, so therefore we have to have him on network television. Look at his stats. He had 1 10-goal year in his career. He was an average player at best. That's pushing it. He wasn't the tough guy on their team. He was known as a tough guy, but he was more of a punk tough guy. Their real tough guys were O'Reilly. They had killers on that team. He was not the killer.
He did go into the stands and
hit someone with a shoe
in '79. Yes,
right.
He did.
Yeah, he pulled off a fan's shoe and hit him in the head with it.
Well, the fan did attack him, and so he subdued the fan, took off the fan's shoe, and began to beat him with it. I actually thought that would earn him some points with you because the fan did go. Oh, now, granted, he climbed the glass and went into the crowd.
He went slap shot.
Well, he wasn't the only one.
No, there was a few of them.
No, if you could ever, ladies and gentlemen, YouTube, find the '79 Rangers Bruins go into the stands at the Garden video. All right. It's up there with the Malice at the Palace. In fact,
it's better.
That's a great poll question. I think the Bruins going into the crowd is much better.
Way better.
Much better. One, I thought there were more of them. All right. And there were more fans fighting back.
Yes. Very true there. Very true there. I'm going to try to upload that video during the break so I can let our Twitch audience watch that.
479-5551, 479-5551, the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. Today was the day when, and one of the beautiful things, by the way, about 2020, think of all the new Today Was the Day When's material. I mean, we're going to have NHL and NBA stuff in July, August, and September, which literally we've never had before. In future, Today Was the Day When's, or this day in sports history at radio shows around the country. 2020 is going to make an appearance. There are very few good things, Mark, that have emerged this year. But come on now, it is mid-August. We have playoff basketball, we have playoff hockey, and we're only a third of the way through the baseball season. And in a lot of places, we're still having a football season, but not the Big Ten. In Ohio, right. In Ohio, high school football Fridays, Cincinnati Bearcats football Saturdays, and Bengals and Browns on Sundays.
Just think of the 3 big C's, David. Massillon, Bearcats, and Bengals.
Oh, my goodness. Miller and Moulton. Today was the day when coming up. Then Pat Kirwan at the top of the hour. Seth Everett in about 40 minutes. Strong way to finish this Hump Day edition of Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Drive home with the Doug Gottlieb Show.
Heckle, the Cardinals, they've played, I think, like 9 games.
10 pounds heavier. The fear is he's got the fat gene. He doesn't work out for a week, and suddenly, damn, he put that 15 pounds back on, right? They're telling you this guy is fragile.
Hey, I just read an unbelievable article in the Epic Times. Take a look. It's an investigation into the mysterious origins of the current outbreak. What other paper do you know that's questioned?
Across the nation, America.
Yeah, 11 games. You're right, Heckle. 11. Well, yeah, we've been pointing that out. Hell, it was a week ago today that they'd still only played 5.
We are too. We know you rely on the Good Feet store to be there when you need us, open and ready to serve you. Our personally fit arch supports are designed to help alleviate, even eliminate, foot, knee, hip, and back pain, and provide comfort, balance, and support. The well-being of our customers, associates, and community is our highest.
49 games in 40 days the Cardinals have to play. Counting today. 49 games in 40 days.
Help America get back on its feet.
13 days, including today, left in August. And the season ends September 27th. 49 and 40.
At a time.
Is foot pain making your life miserable?
No,
Call
it's not.
552-FEET or visit us in Naples or our newest store in Fort Myers.
I'm from Boston, and I can't stand Milbury. He's an idiot.
Trade-in deal we've been doing here at Naples Nissan. Well, it just got sweeter. If your trade-in is less than 8 years old with less than 80,000 miles.
Well, the good thing, Heckle, is, obviously they're going to have to play a lot of doubleheaders. The doubleheaders are 7-inning games.
Yeah. So whatever that Hyundai, Kia, Toyota, Nissan, or Honda was worth 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago is exactly what it'll be worth now, but only at Naples Nissan.
I'm with you. The Bruins brawl is a much bigger deal. If hockey, much bigger deal.
It's
outstanding.
Yes.
Bluetooth, no Bluetooth. Backup camera, no backup camera. Come on.
All right, what am I going to have here? Just a couple minutes. All right.
Visit Naples Nissan.
Oh, I got to get a damn
full details.
Sponsor.
Well, they
drive home in that brand new Nissan.
How about the GMC Pacer?
Crediting cannot be combined.
Oh. How about the K car?
The AMC Pacer, but
AMC.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. How about the K car?
Gulf Coast Dodge.
Ooh, nice. And if you could say it without the L, okay, that'd be better. Gulf Coast Dodge. That'd be great. He's out in Lehigh now. No, LaBelle. He's out in LaBelle now. He's at LaBelle Ford, I think. I like him.
Yeah, he didn't call you 67 times while you were in Lamaze class.
Exactly. Exactly. I didn't have
my favorite thing about him, I tell everybody why I'm a great salesman. He thinks we're friends. He thinks we're buddies.
Oh, Marazzi Nissan. Good one. Good one.
Dr. Spalding and Dr. Spatafor really do care about helping people, and we're so glad they helped us.
They're excited. We share in that excitement. It makes us feel great about what we do.
Hi, this is Dr. Scheibel from Community Eye Center. My partner, Dr. Spatafor, and I want to remind everyone.
That's funny. I don't know why it's such a big deal. People can't give their real names and the real city they're from. Don't think I'm asking too much. I really don't. I'm just trying to give you a sign of respect. John in the Cape. Thanks for listening. Nope. Apparently it's too much to ask. Okay. Fine.
You know why, David? Because actually they're my peeps.
They are.
You're live.
A very funny conversation just took place in our Twitch chat room. All right. Couple of listeners who were going back and forth. All right. And a guy who goes by Hops says to Heckle Hyde, hey, where are you from? All right. And he guessed that he was from, a certain area. And Heckle Hyde goes, nope, I'm from Florida. Unless, of course, I'm texting David, at which point I'm, Barracuda in British Columbia.
Yep. I love it.
Gotcha.
I love it.
God forbid, all I asked, name and city, to show you my appreciation for listening. Thank you, John in the Cape. Something like that. No, apparently that's the only thing I've ever asked our audience for in 13 plus years. Just name and city where you're from. I want to give you a shout out. Okay. No, apparently you all, Mark said, don't do that. Give us a fake name and a fake city. And you all said, you know what? I'm going with Mark on this one.
That's where it happened. David was doing a show solo, so he had the text line. And I said to the audience, I said, I'm going to have tomorrow off. So when you text in, make sure that you use a fake name in a different city to drive David crazy. And damned if everybody didn't do it. And what makes me laugh is that I get annoyed with David from time to time when he goes, my peeps. I'm like, can you quit saying that? Right. And as I just said to him before the break, I said, David, that's probably because they're actually my peeps.
Boy, did I find out, man. Are they ever? What a big ask. Okay. And you can't say, yeah, I asked if you ever killed a guy. I asked that of one person. I didn't ask that of all of you. I just asked the one guy who called in. Did you ever kill a guy? No, sir.
He served more time in jail than Dante Stallworth. I mean, it was a legit question.
It was. Hey, context is important, ladies and gentlemen. It's important. 9 minutes before the top of the hour. Time now for
Miller and Moulton's Today Was the Day When, giving you the history of today's date so you're a beacon of useless knowledge around the office. Useless, but a lot of fun to talk about. This is Today Was the Day When, Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Today was the day when, brought to you by Gulf Coast Dodge, where the general manager cannot pronounce golf.
Wow.
Got to go back a ways for that one.
Wow.
You and I both did a lot of remotes there. Gulf Coast Dodge.
Hey, listen, we made a few bucks from him. We could still make a few bucks from him. He's around.
Good luck with that.
All right. Well, listen, he had a good year last year. His favorite football team went to the Super Bowl. He's been waiting a long time for that.
And there was no March Madness, so it was all ruined.
Well, that's true. His Kentucky Wildcats couldn't play. That's true.
We start today in 1921 when Ty Cobb becomes the fourth to get 3,000 hits on today, August the 19th. Lefty Grove in 31 wins his American League record-tying 16th consecutive game. The first All-American Soapbox Derby is held in Dayton, Ohio. And doesn't that just kind of fit?
So Dayton, the home of soapbox derbies in the first four.
51, Bill Veeck sends Eddie Goodell, 3'7", to the plate to pinch hit. He walked on 4 pitches.
The great shot that was taken by the photographer. And remember, back then, the photographers were on the field, all right, of the catcher on his knees, all right? And the one pitch was high, and it was literally at Eddie's, eye level. And he just caught it, and the AP photographer right there, I mean, was probably within 15 feet of him, snapped the photo, and it made all the papers.
Difference between 67 and 69. 67, All You Need Is Love by the Beatles, number 1. 79, coming off of the cocaine bender that was the late 70s, My Sharona by the Knack, number 1.
There you go.
I mean, that kind of sums up the 2 decades of music right there, doesn't it, David? The 84, Lee Trevino wins his second PGA, beating who? Gary Player and Lanny Watkins.
Shoal Creek, I believe.
The 1995, Mike Tyson returns to the ring to beat Peter McNeely in 38 seconds.
All right. What a tomato can. I mean, a top 10 tomato can.
Of all time. No doubt there.
That was Trevino's last major.
Yes, it was. 2001, David Toms wins the PGA Atlanta Athletic, beating Phil by 1.
Great up and down from the had to lay up, drove it in the rough, laid up to. That's the first time that I can recall. Remember, laying up to the yardage in which he's like, I want to be at 110. I've got my gap wedge. I hit it, and he laid up to the perfect yardage. Okay, and he laid up to the perfect yardage, and he knocked it to about 8-10 feet, made the putt for par, and beat Phil by 1.
Because that's where Jerry Pate hit the 5-iron for the U.S. Open at Atlanta Athletic.
Yeah, at 76, I think it was.
Now you'd hit a 9-iron from that same spot. 04, this is for my wife, if she's still listening. Carly Patterson becomes the second American woman to win the all-around gold, the first in a non-boycotted Olympic Games when she takes gold at Athens. Really, it was only for my wife, if she's listening.
Because Mary Lou Retton was, I think, the one that did it in 84, but the Soviets didn't compete.
If you were born today, you share your birthday with William Jefferson Clinton. Born today in 1946, 74 years old. My least favorite wife of a politician, Tipper Gore, born today in 1948. Gary Gaetti, pretty much for you, David. is 62 years old today.
Boy, really good player on those Twins teams.
I know. Great glove. Bobby Hebert and Morton Anderson, both 60 today. A couple of Atlanta Falcons. Actor John Stamos is 57.
And it's funny. You think of them as Falcons. I think of both as Saints. That's interesting. Now, they played for both, and Morton Anderson went to a Super Bowl as a member of the Falcons, but that's interesting.
Born today in 1969, a trifecta of fame for different reasons. Matthew Perry from Friends, Kirk Herbstreit from college football, and Nate Dogg from the song Regulate. All 51 years old today.
Wow. Herbie looks a little better than Matthew Perry.
Well, he didn't go to rehab 5 times.
I'm just saying.
When you have those type of pill problems, this is going to happen. Matthew Perry's a train wreck.
Kirk looks pretty good for 51.
Yes, he does. Mary Jo Fernandez is 49 today, and that is today was a day when on this August the 19th. Brought to you by Gulf Coast Dodge, where the general manager cannot say golf.
That's funny. All right, little bit of an accent there. All right, the L was silent.
Gulf Coast Dodge.
The L was silent from time to time. All right. Miller and Moulton.
It was an industry joke there. If anybody who is in local radio listen to that, they're going, that's pretty funny.
Poll question, simply grapes, ? And the choices are red, green, or neither.
Sure.
And
Jerry,
green is winning.
I figured it would. It's a better grape.
Well, it
brings more to the table.
One of the few things that you and I agree upon. Yes, we like our green grapes. Pat Kirwan to talk all things NFL to join us coming up in about 4 minutes' time. Seth Everett will follow him here on Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Are you ready to take your game and athletic training to the next level? Looking to improve your speed, posture, endurance, conditioning, and mental training for tennis or any sport? Reach your star potential at Academia Sanchez Casal, Florida, and Naples. Operated by tennis superstars. Olympic silver medalist Emilio Sanchez and Arantxa Sanchez, the former world champ with 14 Grand Slam titles. You won't get this level of training anywhere else. And now expanded to include highly stylized off-court hydro pool programs for ages 10 and up. World-class athletic trainer and founder of Hydro Athletics, Stephen DeViti, will coach you or your child through a unique program of high-intensity, low-impact, results-driven hydroathletic training using the latest in resistance technology and equipment, safely in compliance with CDC guidelines. Group or one-on-one sessions, short and long-term programs for beginners through elite professional athletes of any sport. Step up your game and enroll now. Find Stephen DeViti Hydro Athletics on Instagram or visit asc-florida.com. It's open wheel racing at over 220 miles per hour. The Indianapolis 500, the greatest spectacle in racing. 500 grueling miles, 200 laps of wheel gripping moments. The fastest names in racing try to etch their face on the four-quarter trophy. The Indy 500. Catch all the action this Sunday on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio 103.3, 105.9, and FoxSportsFM.com.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Dan Martineau here, owner of D.R. Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida. We're still finding a lot of roofs with hurricane and windstorm damage. Call us today for a free inspection. Google DRM Roofing or call 239-332-1441.
License number CCC 1326954.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
WFSX AM from Naples to Cape Coral and all of Southwest Florida. 103.3 Fox Sports Radio. We are Fox Sports. Here's what's trending now. Brought to you by the Center for Men's Health. C4MH.com.
Good morning.
Hey, Pat, how are you?
I'm doing fine. Sorry about yesterday, but
I heard.
Yeah, and they're gonna lock me up at 10 o'clock this morning with the Bucks. And you sit there. Sometimes you wait an hour for a guy, and sometimes you get three of them backed up waiting to get on with you. So it's kind of nuts.
Well, I was reading Peter King's article on the Bucks. I thought it was interesting, the whole OJ Howard, how much Brady's working him.
Hey, he knows Gronk's got 1 year left, maybe.
They were talking. The King was talking in the article that Gronk might be third in snaps.
I doubt it. He'll be first in touchdowns.
Well, that's fine. Yeah, I'm not sure you're wrong there, but it was just funny. I thought it was a good piece on how Brady's kind of taken more of a coaching role in some of these guys.
Only one way to wake up in the
He's a maniac coach, and he always is. He's like, and I'll tell you what, he's really nice to them for about 2 weeks, and then he MFs them all day long if they're not doing it.
Here we go.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, broadcasting live from the Kobe Cooling Remote Studios, where it's always cool and comfortable.
It's up to you now. It's up to you. I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? A couple minutes past the top of the hour. We are Miller and Moulton on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels, and also simulcast these days, mornings on the Landry Football Network, also on Twitch. It's a pleasure to welcome back to the show Pat Kirwan of CBS's NFL Today show, moving the chains weekday afternoons on NFL Radio. Pat joining us courtesy of Pinchers, from Tampa to Key West and many points in between, with 8 locations in Southwest Florida. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Pat, how's the NFL and the COVID world in 2020 treating you this week?
I'm glad you asked, because yesterday was our first virtual camp tour stop. I was a bit cynical about the idea of it all, because I like watching practice and I like referencing what I watched at practice on the show. So we had it with the Raiders. We actually did it almost for 2 days, and it was terrific. And I was excited to see how receptive everybody was to what I was trying to find out. And the head coach, the general manager, tons of the players. So today's the Bucks, and I'm excited to get going on that one as well. So it's going to work. It's not going to be perfect, but as Gruden said, nothing's going to be perfect this year. So just try to make the best of what you can, and we're going to do the same thing. And it was okay. It really was fine. And so I'm excited about today in Tampa, and I think we have in Brady for like 15 to 20 minutes, and usually I can get him to stay longer, but fired up for that. And what would you guys like me to ask Brady? That would be my first question to you.
I want to hear more about OJ Howard, because I was reading, Peter King did his Football Morning in America, or whatever the hell he calls it now, and just talking about how Brady's coaching these young receivers. And that's what I'm fascinated about, Pat, because, we all know that OJ Howard's supposed to be a stud, and OJ Howard has disappointed. But now that he's got this Brady guy, I'm curious. We know how much Brady's used tight ends, and he's got now Gronk, he's got Cameron Brady, he's got OJ Howard. I'm fascinated by the tight end situation with Tampa.
Yeah, when OJ Howard was at Alabama, followed by the Senior Bowl, he was phenomenal, and I thought he was the MVP at the Senior Bowl. So I thought the guy was on the verge, come right out of college and be a star. I don't know how much guidance he was getting from Jameis. I saw at practice a lot of extra work in the first year and the second year, and he's very talented. So Brady is a really good coach, and he's hard on guys. He'll be nice for a while, Mark, as I said to you once before. But once he thinks I've told you enough how many times to run that route the right way, and how to catch the ball. And so after that, he'll get hard on him, and that's coming soon. Because once Brady, now we're 3 weeks to the opener, once Brady feels that the pressure of that opening game, he's going to pick up the pace on these guys. And I think Howard will be fine, because he's used to Nick Saban, and he's used to that stuff. I think most of the guys on the team are excited. I'll say this. They have 3 tight ends. Everyone's intrigued by it. What I'm going to dive into today is how many times they really use 2 tight ends. So I went through all of them this morning. Every personnel group they ran last year. It was interesting. 546 plays of multiple tight ends. You would think this team should be in multiple tight ends a lot. 310 runs and just 236 passes for the year. That's where I think there'll be some growth. 2 tight ends and a lot more passing with these kind of tight ends they have. So I think they're going to be able to do some things that are going to drive people crazy because they can get into 3 tight ends. You have to go to base offense, defense, and then they're going to open up Brate and open up Gronk and they'll open up Howard. And that's what Brady loves. He loves getting out there on first down in like what we'd call 13 personnel. You have to run out there in base. And he yells explode, and then he goes no huddle the next play. And you can't get that defense off the field. So he's going to make you put the defense on the field that he wants to see. And that requires these guys being mentally sharp, which is what I think he's pushing them to do.
Pat, what interests me most about the Brady transition now to Tampa Bay at this stage of his career, when Montana transitioned from the Niners to the Chiefs, it was the same offense. I mean, the Niners were nice enough to say, where do you want to go? And he said, well, send me to Kansas City because Paul Hackett's there. He was here. It'll be the same offense. I'm familiar with it. When Favre went from the Packers to the Jets, it was a little awkward. It wasn't the same offense. They tried to accommodate him to some degree, but it was better for him the next year when he went to Minnesota because Darren Bevel was running the same offense they ran in Green Bay. I'm curious as to how much of the offense are they accommodating to Brady? And also his wide receivers are downfield wide receivers. Tom's not as much of a downfield thrower anymore. So I find this fascinating. You're right. Their strength is tight ends and the shorter to mid-range passing game, which suits Brady, but they've also got great receivers. I mean, this is arguably 2 of the top 5 receivers he's ever had in his career. And so I'm fascinated by every aspect of making the transition to a different offense and then also fitting the personnel at this stage of his career at 43.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think Bruce is a real smart guy and he'll figure out how to play to Brady's strengths. But I say this all the time, and Brady is an underrated deep ball thrower, and he's been labeled as a guy who can't. The guy who really can't throw deep anymore is Drew Brees. He's the one. So Tom took 52 shots deep last year. Drew Brees took 27. And so Brady was pretty effective, and he didn't have anybody that at all looks like the receivers he's throwing to now. So I do think you're going to see more deep shots than you probably anticipate from him. And I know Brady. Brady is obsessed with identifying what everyone thinks is his limitation and then attacking it. So I think he'll be very happy to appease Bruce Arians and take deep shots in games. And I would think that you're going to see, I'll say 4, maybe 5 per game down the field outside where those guys are. Every time I've been to the Patriot camp, and I've said this on the show before, I always go the first day in pads, and Brady is running a deep ball drill. He's throwing the ball. He doesn't need to throw the ball 50 yards, but he can throw the ball 50 yards. So, and he doesn't have to wind up to do it. He doesn't have to step into the throw like some of the young guys. And even Breeze has to almost make it look like a javelin throw. He'll do it, but it takes a lot of oomph from him. Brady throws the ball deep nicely. And the deep ball in the NFL, to the listeners, there's this misnomer that people are throwing the ball 50 yards in the air. They're not. He's taking a shotgun snap, basically taking a one-step reset and throwing the ball 30 yards down the field. That is an NFL deep ball. And those guys that, the one guy can win the rebound and the other guy can get behind the coverage. So you'll see a bunch of it. It's part of what Bruce likes to do. And I guarantee you, Brady can't wait to do it. The big throw to Gronk to basically win that last Super Bowl they were in against the Rams, that was a deep ball. That was no short pass, and it was right over his shoulder. He caught it right in front of me. So I think you'll still see a ton of that stuff. In regards to the Montana stuff and everything else, I can't speak for Joe, but I can speak for Brady. That guy is obsessed with proving he can still do it. He went down to Tampa really early. He was the one guy defying the union about meeting with players. He could care less. He was going to make them come out there and work. And, that guy's got a lot of pride, and I think it's going to show up in his performance.
Boy, Bruce Arians echoed everything Pat said in this article about Brady. And when he compared he and Peyton Manning. He said they have the same characteristic. I'm not going to take a 50-50 shot when I've got a 90% shot underneath. I want to go back to the Raiders, Pat, because John Gruden made a comment about how much he liked Mariota and the explosiveness. And, we all know part of the reason why John does this, but how much of a quarterback competition is there going to be there? Or is this just John trying to poke the bear with Derek Carr a little bit?
I don't think I think Carr has passed the test of toughness for John. And that's the first place. John might have assessed Carr as a nice guy when he got there. And I think he wanted a little more fight back from it. Like Richie Gannon, he'd get into it with John. And John respected that. And I think he wanted more of that from Carr, which Carr finally started doing. Carr's a polite, religious kid who that's not in his nature. But I think he realized he's got to pick up that part of it. And he did. The Mariota piece, Mike Mayock said to me yesterday, both John and I loved him coming out on they were in different worlds at the time. But Carr told me that life has been great with Mariota, and he means it. Mariota's a wonderful, quiet guy who's extremely talented. John said they were reprogramming his throwing stuff. They thought his mechanics were terrible, and they spent a lot of time on that part of it. Here's all I'll say. I don't think there's competition for the job right now. I don't think it's going to land up being that. But I can promise you if Mariota has to play because Carr is injured, he's going to do a really nice job. Because John is definitely adding some Mariota stuff. Remember last year, we were talking about this on the show in midseason. John was basically telling Carr to run with the ball more. Take off and make first downs. Richie Gannon had 2 knee braces on and he'd do it. And he was basically saying to Carr, you don't have to hang on a 3rd and 4 when it's wide open in front of you. Just go get the first down, move the chains, start over again. He will not have to say that to Mariota. So unless there's a complete collapse of Carr, I talked to him for about a half hour yesterday. He was pretty confident and pretty relaxed and really enjoying where he is in this offense. He's no longer dealing with the complications of it. And meanwhile, Mariota, it's hard. Jimmy Miller played for John, and he was warning Mariota basically, hey, the guy goes fast. He talks fast. He diagrams stuff on the board. It's scribbled all over the place, and he expects you to understand what he just did. So don't let him get too far ahead of you. Stop him and make him tell you what the heck that means. So I think Mariota's in that phase, which ultimately means he won't be ready to go right away. And Carr feels like he's in the driver's seat.
He's Pat Kirwan from SiriusXM's NFL Radio, moving the chains weekday afternoons. Pat joins us courtesy of Pinchers. Pat, I'm not asking you whether or not you think any of these teams are going to do the whole worst of first, but with there being an extra playoff team in each conference this year, of the 8 last place teams a year ago, give me the one that you think has the best shot to go from last place to the playoffs this year. Dolphins. In the AFC, the last place teams were the Dolphins, the Chargers, the Bengals, and the Jags. In the NFC, the last place teams were the Redskins, the Cardinals, the Lions, and the Panthers. Any one of those 8 that you have genuinely a really good feeling about this year?
Yeah, we got into this discussion a couple days ago, and if I was going to make a bet, I'd probably bet on the Cardinals. To get to, they're not to win the division, but they might have enough going on with that pass rush and that young quarterback. And now that they have Hopkins, Hopkins will, now maybe we're finding out why Obi wanted to move him because he didn't want him standing there waiting for a new contract. So, but I think the Cardinals, Jim would say the Lions and those 8 teams, but I think I'd say the Cardinals. How about you guys? I want to hear it. I don't think I think the Panthers are too far away. The Redskins. Now, if Alex Smith plays with the pass rush they have, and that division is a vulnerable one, right? 9 wins won it last year. Ron Rivera, Alex Smith, and the pass rush, maybe that'd be my third choice.
I'm fascinated by the Chargers because a year ago at this time, we all thought they had one of the 5 best rosters in the league. Well, most of that roster has returned with the exception of the quarterback. And so now they had a lot of injuries last year. And once the season went sideways, they couldn't turn it around. And the quarterback didn't help by throwing a lot of picks. So the Chargers interest me because, well, they've got great skilled players on offense and they can rush the passer. I mean, you don't need a whole lot more to go right after that, Pat.
You do. I agree with you, except Jim has convinced me to really keep an eye on the Denver Broncos. The Raiders aren't going to be an easy out. To me, the Chargers, it goes back to your first comment, and the quarterback. Do I think Tyrod Taylor can lead them? No. Do I think Herbert's going to be ready? No. So I think they're going to get and the reason I wouldn't take him is I'll give you an example. Kyler Murray or Tyrod Taylor, if you had to pick a team. And the reason I picked Arizona is because I believe Kyler Murray is going to do more to help his team than Tyrod Taylor can.
And I would take Detroit out of all those, Pat. I like where you're at with the Cardinals, but when I look at the Niners and the Seahawks, I think it's too much to climb. And I'm wondering if we're going to see, and we've been wondering, the Vikings have been kind of piecing this back together. I'm very curious what the Vikings bring to the table this year. I think the Bears are not better than they were a year ago. You could argue that they might even be worse than they were a year ago. And the Lions have Stafford all year. I don't know if they can make the playoffs, but I think the Lions have a much better shot to get to 8 than the Cardinals and the Lions, to me, have the best shot to get to 8 out of those teams.
I agree with you. I kind of like where they're going. And I don't like that the Lions already said Patricia has to get to the playoffs, or else. That's always a bad start. Now you got players in that room by midseason saying, this guy's out of here, so I'm not going to pay attention to him anymore. That's a bad place to put a guy. The Vikings overhaul, and I wouldn't say overhaul, they wiped out their secondary and put a bunch of kids in it. So, Aaron Rodgers against a bunch of rookie defensive backs, I think they made their life harder for themselves. Did the Packers do enough to get a receiver in there? No. Did they do enough to help a run defense? Not really. But they did win 13 games last year and almost went to the Super Bowl. I laugh when I hear things about, Rodgers will be out of here in a year. No, he won't. The coach will be gone before Rodgers.
Well, that's what should happen, because if you watched Aaron Rodgers play last year, he's still a top 5 quarterback. To move on from a top 5 quarterback is absolutely laughable. Pat, you and Mark both mentioned the Bears here, and they have a legitimate quarterback controversy or battle. Can you have one during the 10 practice training camp that we're going to have? Or, I mean, honestly, what can one guy do in the COVID training camp year of 2020 to win or lose a job?
Not much. It's a great observation that has to be dealt with. To me, I think they've already figured out what they're going to do, and they're not going to say it. But you notice how many positive comments are coming out. I have the Bears tomorrow, so I'm very anxious to spend the whole day with those guys. But so how many positive comments have been coming out about Trubisky from the head coach? A number of them. To me, they've already figured out Trubisky will start the season. If he stumbles and falls, which everyone thinks he will, then we'll go to Foles. Foles is a come-off-the-bench guy, and that'll buy him another month of preparation time, although he knows most of this offense. The guy running the offense has already coached Foles before. But your point about enough reps, I'm totally in agreement with that problem. I noticed that the Patriots are trying to split reps 3 ways. That's not going to work. That's what the Redskins did last year. And what did they do? They drove Haskins backwards, and they were getting backup journeyman ready. And that was the head coach who wanted to do that. I don't think he was very excited about Haskins. So running it with 3 is awful. Running it with 2 is just about as bad. You got to pick your guy and go. And I think in the case of Trubisky, look, he was a high draft pick. He did have 1 year that was interestingly good, and then last year was a setback year. I think they'll start with him. And if he doesn't get out of the blocks good for the month of September, the fans will be going nuts and they'll make the move to Foles. And as I said, Foles off the bench is that's his whole MO, isn't it? Isn't his the best of Foles when he comes off the bench?
Yes. That's why I laugh at people that are thinking that they've got the answer in Chicago. David and I have argued about this for a couple of years. We already know Foles had a great run coming on. He had one nice year with Chip Kelly. Other than that, he's been a backup. That's what the guy is. And I'm convinced, I'm with you, Pat. I'm convinced that he's just a backup. When you look at the Patriots, you brought them up. I kind of want to ask this a little bit more, not just the Patriots, but, we're seeing Jarrett Stidham threw 3 interceptions. Tom Brady threw an interception. What's the most overrated thing that we're hearing from people watching camp right now? And what are the things that we actually should be paying attention to in the tea leaves as we're following our beat reporter from our team? What are the things that you should just dismiss? And what should you be paying more attention to when you're following your team in camp?
Yeah, I'd be eliminating this idea of interceptions. Brady threw one on his first throw. So there's a guy who's got to report stuff, and that sounds like a reportable piece of information. It's not. I think it was a rookie wide receiver didn't run the right route, so
Correct.
He'll just yell at the kid, and then they'll be on to the next thing. But I do think you should be watching the offensive line, and are they blocking their own defense? Are they able to handle the blitzes that are going to come their way? I was talking to Incognito yesterday about that. And then at Raiderland, they're loaded with veterans in their starting 5 up front. So they're pretty far ahead of a lot of teams on protections. But protections are protections. Mental errors there get quarterbacks killed. And maybe physical errors where your left tackle can't handle your own team pass rusher. And you have to start thinking, now the coach is going, we need to max protect more. We only can run a 3-step drop game, So I do think watching the offensive line is really important during camp. The special teams coaches are at wit's end. They're not getting any reps to convince themselves they're ready to play special teams, but that's hard for the fans because people don't report. They don't even know how to report that. But you can report the O-line and the pass rush. And I think that's where I would start. And the second place I'd start is corners making plays on balls. Can they cover guys? Can they actually, I would love now to spend time watching the Raider corners against Ruggs and Edwards and these kids. Not so much for the receivers. They're still learning. But the corners, can they physically – here's what you want to know. Can we play man-to-man if we need to? Oh, we can't. We're a zone team this year. These guys can't handle the burst and all that stuff. So those are the 2 things, Mark, I would be watching closely.
He's Pat Kirwan, CBS's NFL Today show, moving the chains weekday afternoons on NFL radio. They'll be talking Tampa Bay Bucks with their virtual training camp today, 3 to 7 on NFL radio. Pat joins us every week, courtesy of Pinchers, from Tampa to Key West and many points in between, with 8 locations in Southwest Florida. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Pat, we know you're very busy these days. Best of luck. Be safe, and look forward to next week already.
Yeah, and always good to be with you guys. And I feel like we're getting closer to – I feel like we're getting back to me coming on twice a week, which is what I love.
Hey, 22 days away from Chiefs and Texans, baby.
We're ready, Pat. We are ready.
22 days, David. How many teams are going to be ready? You always ask me questions. 32 teams in the NFL. How many of them are really going to be ready for week 1?
I'm hoping 2 for that Thursday night, Pat. That's all I'm hoping for.
You're not greedy, Mark. All right, guys, be good.
Thanks,
All
Pat.
right, you too. Pat Kirwan, kind enough to join us here on Miller and Moulton. Seth Everett to talk a little baseball, but I have a feeling that college football may come up. The proud Syracuse alum not happy that the ACC is moving forward. And Outkick is reporting this morning that that rumor of half the Big Ten, or 6 teams, are going to try to play
a 10-game home-and-home schedule. Oh, my God, I love it.
Well, if one of the 6 is Ohio State, it has a chance. It has a chance of happening.
They're playing high school football in Ohio, David.
And Cincinnati's
aren't playing.
And Cincinnati's
Cincinnati Moeller.
Right.
St. Ignatius, they'll still be playing, but no Buckeyes.
Right. Yep. Listen, if you're Commissioner Warren, though, it's all or nothing. Either you completely reverse course. You can't have 6 teams that can play in the fall and the other 8 can't. Come on.
I said earlier in the show, there is a blogger in Ohio, goes by Sir Yacht, on Monday, tweeted out the Big Ten will reverse course. I have a source. They will reverse course by the end of the week. It's Wednesday. Now a national show is reporting that 6 teams are leaving. This guy may be on an island, but the island may have a little more stock to it than we thought yesterday.
I put it this way. He got a food and beverage shipment on the island. Don't know if he's getting off the island, but he's eating and drinking a lot better on
Better than that concert that never happened.
Seth Everett next. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Receiving over. Alexa, play Fox Sports FM on TuneIn.
Look at this.
Wait a minute. I got to switch these, though.
Sorry, I don't know that one.
Smart speaker. Are we cheering for?
Oh.
Get Southwest Florida sports.
Look at this. It says, you're in the show. Everyone can see and hear you. Put your pants on. I didn't know that StreamYard could do that.
How do I?
Now, what's interesting is, look at you.
I want that, but I can't do it with.
I'll do that.
I want Seth to be over here.
I know. You want us to be on the side and Seth to be in the middle, but worst case scenario, you just do all 3 of us.
Plumbing and electric.
Worst
it's very likely one of those scam artist telemarketing companies with the bait and switch cheap service call. If you need a
Seth, how's your week going?
Not bad. Just I have 8 days till I'm going to Syracuse, so that's the big mystery.
When you think of air conditioning,
I didn't realize Notre Dame just they went all online too 8 days after kids got there. Give me your money.
Dame,
that is so
Michigan State, North Carolina.
Well, hold on. Did Notre Dame do that this morning? Because yesterday,
they did a couple days ago.
Well, I thought they said they were just pausing.
Yeah, it's for 2 weeks.
Automation is the answer.
It's for 2 weeks, and they're not telling the kids to go home.
When you get home.
No, of course not. Then they're going to tell them to go home.
Then they'll tell them to go home.
Right. Right.
And my friend took a kid up to Syracuse, and he's in a fraternity house yesterday. And they said the mom was driving around, and she's not an alarmist or anything. She just said there's nobody on campus wearing masks. So it's just a matter of time.
I will say it was fascinating to see all the video from North Carolina yesterday.
Oh,
everybody
bad.
Well, but everybody moving out had a mask on that I saw.
Yes.
I found that interesting. Now, they obviously weren't wearing them when they went to their parties, but they were all wearing them while moving out.
Right. When they had the gangbang in the corner. What? You guys don't remember college?
No, I remember it very well, actually.
I don't remember any orgies. Went to the wrong college.
I have my podcast guest is at 8:50.
Okay, well
then don't go long.
Yeah, we'll be done 45, 47, something like that.
I got nothing. I've been playing with Twitch graphics, and yesterday we had turntables and these lines that would measure, like, as people were talking, you could see the lines going.
Hey,
it looked awesome.
Hey, Seth, can you play music on Twitch without getting, YouTube nixes everything?
No, you have to play uncopyrighted music.
All right.
So what I've been doing is I've been playing music that Prince gave us. And it's not in the YouTube system. So the whatever algorithm doesn't know that it's Prince. They think it's me playing.
Yep.
So that's what I've been doing.
I think I'm just
did an interview with a guy.
Twitch hour. What do you think, David? I can do a little ditty to open our Twitch hour on guitar.
Do a little ditty.
Do a little ditty.
About Jack and Diane.
And you're not
Hey,
and you're
by the
not
way,
talking.
I was learning that the other day on guitar because it's only 3 or 4 chords and I can pull that one off. We start hitting the bar chords, it gets very, very tough.
And by a little ditty, you don't mean pee, right?
No, I mean Jack and Diane. I'm with Seth.
There you go.
It's my little ditty. Something catchy, something snappy.
It's not Phil Collins, I'll tell you that much.
I will say that the two kids doing the Phil Collins thing was terrific.
Oh, that was so funny.
That's so good. I ended up sitting there for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes watching them do Rage Against the Machine because I knew when that one come, they would get into it. Here we go.
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
And if you're watching us on YouTube or on Twitch TV, you can see Seth Everett, who's kind enough to join us once again here on Miller and Moulton. Seth with the Two Great Podcasts, and you can follow him on Twitter at Seth_Everett. Looking all distinguished to start the interview by putting his glasses on. Top of the morning to you, Seth. How are you?
Big acquisition this week. I got glasses.
I'm looking at the shirt there.
Smarter.
Is that a Denver Broncos? Is that a Durham Bulls? What are we going
Denver
with?
Broncos. It's a great story.
It's
great
old
story
school.
behind it.
It's the old school logo, though.
If you guys remember the 1996 season, my first season covering the NFL, I had a tip from somebody in the organization, this great guy in the front office, who said they're going to change the uniforms. And I went to the store, because this is 1996, and I went to the store to buy a disposable camera. And I was going to go onto the field at the old Mile High Stadium and take pictures of the Broncos in their old uniforms, because at that point, those uniforms that was the last time they're going to wear them. And I left the camera on my kitchen table. And I got on I-25 heading to Mile High Stadium, and I said, don't worry about it. The 13-3 Broncos will beat the Tom Coughlin, Mark Brunell-led Jacksonville Jaguars.
Right, 9-7
I'll just bring the
Jags.
camera the next week because we had home field for the whole playoffs. No problem. And they lost to Jacksonville, and all I got was this shirt.
Well, Seth, you have been described by a lot of our listeners as the doom and gloom guy. In fact,
okay.
We're ready to hear Seth's Doom Patrol review.
Doom Patrol. That's a messed up show. That's a
I want
wackadoodle show.
I think I want you can tell me if I'm wrong. There's no doubt that I believe in my heart that Seth wants all sports to be played. We have too much invested, the three of us and friends and all of the people. I think Seth has just always been at a different point than we have, and we've not necessarily agreed with him on a lot of things. But here we are. The ACC is still playing football. Ohio State's not playing football, yet the Cincinnati Bearcats, the Cincinnati Bengals, and Cincinnati Moeller High School will all be playing football in Ohio. This is, first off, we got kind of chastised yesterday when we've said this has been political, or I have said. David said it somewhat is.
It's totally political.
So you think the college football thing, the governors, the states, and how they are lined up, you think this is definitely something to do with it, correct?
Totally. And it's so fractured, it's disgusting. And again, I do not care what side of the aisle you're on. Some of my dearest friends are Republicans, so just because I'm a mask wearer does not mean I'm a left-wing nut. There's none of those connotations. One of my dearest friends, one of my top 15 friends, played golf with Donald Trump on Saturday while his brother was dying. Jay Feely has been getting chastised on social media, and he's been in my house, and he's sat right next to me, and we've done shows together in this room where we are. And I love him to death, and he's a Republican. So this is not me taking a political stance. But I can't stand how fractured we are, and it's actually worse than I thought, because my fear is that you have, two of the Power 5 conferences saying we can't do it, and then you have two saying we can, and then you have the ACC who is, and I don't mind if the ACC plays with good rationale, but the rationale that Jim Boeheim and Chance Worley and all these ACC doctors that have come out and said such stupid things, I want to get them a job at MyPillow. And so what I would suggest is that we just use cool heads. And I heard your guys with Jay Paterno and State College and how State College is getting impacted. And I totally get that. But I am taking the attitude that I'm taking with my kids, which is in my town in New Jersey, the public people, the Board of Education has done a brutal job in their preparation. It's like they're making it up as they go along. I feel like Adam Gase is running it. And as a result, and we had a very open mind about school, we've said this, we're starting online. And if in 3 weeks you idiots think that it's going to go great, and I hear all the reports from my daughter's friends saying how great school is, I'll call the principal. I guarantee you they'll take us. I'm not worried about getting blacklisted from school. And what I'd like is for the SEC to be the guinea pig. Let the SEC, because you guys are the conference that has said it's your God-given right and all this other garbage. Let you guys be the guinea pig and have a great SEC season. But what I don't want is the greedy Syracuse Orange to just do it because they're doing it for money. When Ithaca went online and Pennsylvania went online and every school around them is going online, they're going. And I heard from a person yesterday who said they dropped their son off at Syracuse and nobody's wearing masks. So the images that you see about North Carolina now, that'll be Syracuse by Friday.
And every other school. Seth, here.
All right, hold on a second. We do need to point out he went My Pillow and Adam Gase in the same answer. I do think we need a little something for the effort.
Well,
there.
first off, anytime you bash Adam
Gase
on the show, your Q rating goes through the roof.
Right.
Okay, that is, Adam Gase's eyes is
you threw meat to our audience there.
You
really
for the ones that might get a problem with you, once you trash Adam Gase,
I have to sit for a half hour of Adam Gase every day on Zoom, and I literally pull my hair out of my head.
I don't know how you couldn't.
And he doesn't know. And just to play on Pat Kirwan, because I heard him when I was dialing in about all these teams are getting ready at different paces. The Jets have planned a scrimmage at MetLife Stadium. They're going to go to MetLife Stadium and they're going to try to play each other in a scrimmage. Greg Williams will run the defense and he'll run the offense. And there's a bunch of receivers that got hurt. And he literally says, so we can't do that. And I don't know when we're rescheduling it. And I said, you guys are not going to be ready. None of these teams are going to be ready. And I have said it, and I know a lot of people disagree. The mistake the NFL made was canceling all the preseason games. Because for two reasons. On the field, it's ridiculous to think that these teams are actually going to be prepared. And number two, they need to practice how they're traveling in this day and age. And I think they should have played at least one, maybe two preseason games.
There are a lot of people in the NFL that thought also for the officials to have live action for one game, that actually teams needed a game. There
Somebody
were a lot of
asked him
people
about Mekhi Beckham, and they said he's great at studying. He's great at studying. That's wonderful.
He's Seth Everett, Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice, or the podcast. Seth_Everett is how you can follow him on Twitter. We're a little pressed for time today for Seth, so we do want to move it along quickly to baseball. How close are the Cardinals, if you were Rob Manfred, to if one more thing goes wrong, do you just have to bail on the Cardinals? I mean, they have to play 49 games in 40 days counting today. Oh, 49 and 40 is what the ratio is right now. So if by chance they miss, like what happened to the Reds last weekend, one player, they cancel an entire 3-game season. I mean, are you at the point with the Cardinals in which if they have one more thing go wrong, you just say, sorry, guys, you're done?
No, but what I think Manfred should do is should acknowledge that if a team can't play 60 games, winning percentage will define the standings. And I think that's a way to do it because you don't know that there's not going to be other teams. And as the season goes on, you're not going to have time to make all these games up. So if there's an outbreak for another team, Team X, and they're in the pennant race and it's September 15th, you're not going to have time to if they have wipe out 10 games, then you're not going to have time. And I think you just have to establish a rule. If you say that it's not going to be win total, they should go to the point system, give them 2 points for a win, 1 point for a tie. And then what you could argue is just give the opportunity, at least from a percentage standpoint, that if you are in the playoffs, in this 8-team playoff per league, it goes on winning percentage, not playing 60 games because it just doesn't seem conceivable. And I wouldn't kick the Cardinals out. I don't think anybody wins. The Cardinals are a mishmash. The Marlins were a mishmash. The Indians, they hate each other. All these different teams that are out there, and they're going. And I just think that, let's just ride it out. You're almost halfway. Let's just go.
Seth, for all of the awful things that 2020 has given us, something happened yesterday that may have saved at least part of 2020. Fernando Tatis hits his grand slam home run 2 days ago, and yesterday Johnny Bench and Reggie Jackson came to his defense. I hate unwritten rules. I think they are the dumbest thing in the world in sports, particularly in baseball. I go nuts every time I hear this. When we have launch angle and everybody's scoring all these runs, yet we're supposed to just take a pitch at 3-0. Now, Dan Patrick talked about it. Hey, if you want to give him a hard time for not listening to his manager, sure, that's accurate because he
didn't see the sign when
which Johnny Bench
by the fans.
Johnny Bench in his interview said, really good way to not see the sign is not look at third. It's not the first time a batter's done that, and it's not going to be the last. But when Reggie Jackson and Johnny Bench, two people that we all still know very well, we all think pretty highly of them from a baseball standpoint. Maybe there's other things, but from baseball, they're very highly regarded. And
one of them's not nice, but other than that, we're good.
Well, yeah, I know, but they crushed the unwritten rule. And I thought yesterday, finally, we got rid of some unwritten rules in sports because of the old school guys saying, shut up. Do you think we got rid of an unwritten rule yesterday?
Well, probably not, just because, there's unwritten rules about, when you throw behind a guy and, where you're supposed to throw. There's all kinds of unwritten rules. I thought the most fun thing about Tatis when he smirked and said, I didn't see the sign. Really? You didn't see the sign? He was literally waving. He was holding up a sign and he didn't see it. And a lot of people were saying it felt good to just have a sports debate and not have a sports/COVID debate. And I like that idea too. It reminded me of a conversation 20 years ago, almost, that I had with Charlie Steiner at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia 5 days after 9/11. And baseball had shut down, and we were not sure how to handle everything. And everything was, trying to diminish the value of sports and all this stuff. And Charlie Steiner asked me something off the air, and he said, I don't know how to bring this up on the air, but Randy Johnson and Curt Schilling pitched the last 2 games before 9/11, and they're going to pitch the first 2 games after the break. Isn't that unfair? And I just looked at him, and he goes, I'm not being callous. I'm not saying, we're losing sight of the real priorities here, but can we have a baseball discussion? And I, laughed it off, and I said, you know what? It feels good. And it felt good to hear people, taking sides on Fernando Tatis because the guy's having fun. And that's all it was. And then somebody got on me because when I didn't tweet about it for a while, and somebody said, you didn't write anything or say anything about Fernando Tatis. I said, you've got NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, the convention's going on, and I'm watching Rangers Padres on a Monday night. No, I saw it late like everyone else did.
My favorite part is yesterday, up 6-0 in the 4th inning, he stole third.
Yeah.
Okay. I love it. And he basically looked over at the Texas Rangers like, I don't know what to tell you. This is how I play the game. And Texas in the bottom of that inning scored 4 runs to make it a 6-4 game, which totally backed up what Tatis was doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He's like, listen, this is the modern day game. And not only that, with this spring training that we had, nobody's pitching is in good shape. Everybody is scoring runs outside of a couple teams. Sure. It's like, give me a break. The Herm Edwards were playing to win the game. This is how I play. I'm going all out. And
I talked to a buddy of the Padres, and they said he's infectious, and a lot of people like him. And what they're hoping in San Diego is that this introduces him to the world, because a lot of people just think of him as Fernando Tatis's dad. And, I don't know him personally because he's come up in the big leagues and we've been in a pandemic. But I remember his dad, and I thought his dad was a great guy, great player.
Well, the best thing about the Padres is now it's not just their broadcast team. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Because they may have the best local broadcast team, Don Orsillo and
Don Orsillo, yeah.
they're infectious as a listen, and now the team is exciting as well. All right, I know you're pressed for time. Quickly, Sports with Friends Hall of Justice.
Oh, I'm in no rush, but it's okay. We got.
Well, you said you got an interview in 4 minutes.
I'm already lined in. We're good. Okay, it's fine. Coming up in literally 4 minutes, I am interviewing the new play-by-play voice of the Washington football team. My longtime friend Bram Weinstein. Bram was named the new play-by-play voice, and to tell you the truth, when he interviewed for the job, they were still called the Redskins. So I want to talk to him about what it's going to be like and how everything's going to be, and also I don't think he's traveling. So what's that going to be? You're calling your first year for a new team, and you're doing it off a monitor, and there's no preseason games, so you don't have any chance to practice. It's just going to be a real interesting conversation with Bram Weinstein. And Hall of Justice, the cast of the X-Men animated series, those are my old buddies. We did a live virtual panel for Wizard World, and that's this week's episode of the Hall of Justice. But Bram Weinstein, and we just couldn't get our schedule synced, so we're recording it literally in now 3 minutes.
See? There you go.
Yeah, I mean, you are a little pressed for time, Seth.
Yeah, that's all.
I'm ready, but I'm ready. It's all set. It's in my other link. I just have to click.
Mark, okay, Mark, fine. Ask him a question. Talk right up to 8:49:58. Mark, go.
What's your favorite music band? Anything with Phil Collins you want to talk about?
First, no, I want to get to our poll question. Grapes.
Poll question. I didn't hear the show this today.
Red or green? Grapes.
Oh, red.
There you go. Opposite of both David and I, to no one's surprise.
No one's great guys. That sounds. I must be a commie bastard because I like red grapes.
Well, well, you're a commie bastard for a couple of other things. We'll see who turns on you because you chose red as well.
That's all right. Your governor's a member of the Legion of Doom, so it's all good.
He's Seth Everett, Hall of Justice, Sports with Friends.
And covers a red grape eating commie bastard.
Right. And covers the Jets for Sports Illustrated and spends a half hour a day with Adam Gase. And that's why, well, he's losing his hair and it's going.
I'm losing my mind.
Seth, thanks. All the best.
I'll see you guys.
Seth Everett here on
Bram,
Miller.
Hold on. Just kidding. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Miller and Moulton. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And I'm just curious to see who it's brought to you by. Coming up next on Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Thanks, Seth.
That was fun.
Talk to you later.
Seriously, how are you getting out of the country? That's the one question I didn't understand.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be allowed. We're flying.
Where are you going? Where are you supposed to go?
British Virgin Islands. We are flying to the U.S. Virgin Islands and then taking basically a boat over to the other island we're going to. It's in October, so I don't know if I'll be able to. Planning on it.
4 months later, we just got our refund. We were supposed to go to Greece in July. And we obviously can't go. And we applied, we filled out all the forms, and it literally took 4 months to get the money back.
Yeah, fortunately, the flights weren't that expensive, and we're not, it's a buddy of mine rented a boat that we're supposed to be living on for a week.
That's awesome. If you can pull it off, that's
we can
great.
pull this off. I'm on a sailboat.
You said something. You're like, I'm going out of the country. I'll go, he is? How's he doing that?
Trying. We'll see.
Because all the U.S. Open players, and by the way, the U.S. Open should happen even if none of the players can go. I'll play for the U.S. Open. It's great. It's a great entertainment. And if those guys can't travel, no big deal. Next man up. Let's just do it. The U.S. Open's too easy to pull off to not play.
Tennis U.S. Open you're talking about.
Tennis. And I might go to the golf one. I have a meeting with them this week. I might go to the U.S. Open because they're having media there, but it's just going to be in a tent.
I had really good seats for that, and they took them away from me. The U.S. Open golf, because it was on Fox up until a month ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to be in the booth on 18.
Right.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Now I'll be home.
You'll be home.
Actually, or where will I be?
NBA NFL City.
Right. I'll be in Cleveland on Thursday, and I'll be in West Point on Saturday.
And that's official? You're on the road?
Yeah, I'm on the road for both NFL and college. I'm traveling 41 games.
Man.
Yeah,
great.
I think we should have a COVID pool. Okay, Seth, I know you got to go, but we should have a COVID pool as to when I get it.
When you get...
Over under October Columbus Day.
Totally
I think we
think
should go
so.
before or
Yeah,
after.
go under.
Okay. See ya.
Seth.
I'll see you guys.
Durable. Call 552-FEET or visit us in Naples or our newest store in Fort Myers.
A date which will live in infamy.
Wife looked at me yesterday and said, "We're still doing this, right?" I go, "We're doing it." She goes, "I don't have a good feeling." I go, "Well, hopefully I'll just get the mild variety."
Another great American comeback story
In stopping the virus,
will be in the books.
we will have a great victory.
Our story continues.
And return to
Heckle Hyde, the Golf U.S. Opens at Wingfoot, 30 miles north of New York City.
Hardee's presents the new spicy Western Bacon Cheeseburger. It's just like the Western Bacon Cheeseburger with charbroiled beef, crispy bacon and onion rings, and topped with tangy barbecue sauce. But we added spicy jalapenos and melty pepper jack cheese. We took a burger that was already delicious and spiced it up. Why are we using this whip crack to explain it? Because jalapenos sound like this. Try the new spicy Western Bacon Cheeseburger at Hardee's. Feed your happy. Limited time only at participating Hardee's restaurants. Price and participation may vary. Hardee's presents the Southwest Omelet, Biscuit, and Burrito. Wanted in 42 states on charges of bringing a sweat to the brow of breakfast lovers with low spice tolerance. We start with a made-from-scratch biscuit. And then we add a fluffy omelet full of melted cheese, crispy bacon, and spicy jalapenos. Being extra wild, you can get it all wrapped up in a burrito. The Southwest Omelet, Biscuit, and Burrito are back. Only at Hardee's. Feed your happy. Limited time only at participating Hardee's restaurants. Price and participation may vary.
No matter where you're voting, with Towboat US, you're covered by the world's largest towing fleet with over 300 ports nationwide. Your local Towboat US companies in Charlotte, Lee, and Collier counties are here to help 24/7, 365 days a year. Inland, the river to Lake O, and out 75 nautical miles. And new membership pricing starts as low as $99. Call 239-945-1664 for more information or visit towboatuscapecoral.com. With Towboat US, you're never stuck on the water. From the best headlines,
the best,
to the worst.
It's the worst thing that ever happened to anybody ever.
Prepare yourself and hide the women and children. This is Mark Miller's Good, Bad, and Ugly on Fox Sports Radio.
You're live.
For today, the good, the bad, and the ugly, brought to you by Cheeseburger.
Nice. A Naples tradition, right?
Tradition.
Tradition unlike any other. Cheeseburger.
Yep. That place was actually, they had a great milkshake there. For the good, we go to New Mexico, where a hiker was stranded for 14 days, has been rescued thanks to another hiker who and a rescue team who found him. He was hiking a trail in Santa Fe, heard a man yelling. The man was in bad shape, couldn't move or stand, gave him all the water and food he had with him, called 911, and then gave a GPS location. Santa Fe firefighters arrived within the hour. The guy would not have made it if not come on upon. Would you ever go for like a long hike alone? Does that sound like anything fun? Where you would be miles away from civilization and there's a chance you could hurt yourself?
No, I mean, I'd do a hike, but I would do it on, a fairly common trail in a park or a, wildlife place that, there's a decent number of people. And that, put it this way, if something happened to me, eventually somebody's going to find me, if you know what I mean. And I don't mean in 4 days.
Right. Exactly.
Right. Maybe within 4 hours.
It's one thing to carjack. It's another to use a Bible to do it. A Maine man is accused of using a Bible as a weapon when he tried to steal a car. Benjamin Parker jumped into the driver's seat of an SUV after a family had pulled over to take a few pictures. When the man realized what Parker was doing, he ran to the vehicle to try to stop him from driving away. That's when Parker started hitting the victim with a Bible. The victim was able to pull Parker from the vehicle, and Parker ran off. He was caught a short while later and charged with robbery and, guess what? Probation violation. Finally, the ugly, and unfortunately this does not have a happy ending, because a 32-year-old man broke into an Arizona aquatic center and climbed into the steel structure support of a water slide and then got trapped inside the tube.
Oh, boy.
He's no longer with us.
Oh, snap.
They heard cries just after midnight. By the time they got to him and found his location, it was over an hour. Apparently, he went for a swim before climbing to the top of the water slide and then got stuck. He was declared dead upon removal.
Damn. That's awful.
Yeah, whatever. That is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, August the 19th. This is 2020.
By the way, still a cheeseburger in Sanibel, as has been pointed out in our Twitch chat room. Yeah.
Oh, well, they no longer can sponsor this then. If they're still in business, I'm not giving them any love.
Well, they're not in business in Naples.
Milkshake.
Well, they're not in business in Naples, though. So, but yeah, pointed out in our Twitch chat room. They're still around.
Huh. Looky there.
Yeah. Miller and Moulton on this hump day. Lightning at noon, by the way. And I'll tell you what, don't give Columbus life, because they're just ornery enough and stubborn enough and a hardworking, grinding team that, you know, up 3-1, down 3-1, they're going to play the same every game. If I'm Tampa, put these guys away, because Boston may put Carolina away, and that's who you're likely to face in the next round. Don't have the Bruins be the rested team while you extend your series with Columbus. It's a bad break for both the Lightning and the Bruins, by the way. They're going to end up facing each other in the second round. Wow. It's a really bad break for the Lightning.
I'm shocked. I know the Canadians with the history and the logo, but they're a Canadian team, and they put the Canadians on at 8 o'clock. They've put them on NBC on Sunday night against the Flyers, and they've not put the Bruins on, nor have they. And I get not putting Tampa and Columbus on, but you're going to go. I get historically Flyers, Canadians, but when one of the markets is in a country that doesn't speak English, wouldn't you put two English-speaking teams on?
Well, and I understand Philly's an exciting team, and Comcast has ties to Philadelphia and all that, but the Bruins are an original six franchise.
Right.
I mean, I'm a little surprised.
I have been stunned at all the love that they've been given that series.
So NBA once again at 1:30 today, and the Lightning at, I believe it's noon, right?
Noon.
Yeah.
A mighty nooner. Craig Wolf, get ready.
Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening.
All right, Roger. Screw you in the Jackets.
All right, you guys have a good day. I'll be here tomorrow.
All right, Giro. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Giro.
No offense there, Roger. I can't be rooting for the damn Jackets.
Guess what? Naples Nissan is going to give you.
I like the fact that you're in our YouTube room, though, Roger. It's the first one we've ever gotten from YouTube. Good to know. All right.
Wait.
What?
Nothing. I just wanted to talk to you about something, but
okay, well, I'm going to end the broadcast then. Thanks, everybody.
Hello, everybody. Goodbye, everybody.
Let's see here.